One thought can shatter the sun, moon, and stars, and one finger can destroy the Heavenly Overlord. In the midst of conversation and laughter, the 10 realms of the heavens are shattered by smoke and ashes. A poor boy walking out of a mountain ditch, holding the Nine Dragon Divine Cauldron, controlling the eternal time and space, embarking on the ancient divine path, competing with the emperors of the heavens, colliding with the mythological era, and sailing upstream in the vast and bizarre world. Keywords of the novel.九龍 Divine Cauldron without pop-ups. Download the complete collection of九龍 Divine Cauldron TXT, and read the latest chapters of九龍 Divine Cauldron. Chapter 1. The Son of Silver. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. The Son of Silver. The dim light of the morning pierced through the dark blue sky, and the vast sky was covered in white fish bellies. Drinking. Bang 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 bang. Bang 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 bang. In Xianyu County, Wuzong Academy, in the back mountain forest, a skinny young man dressed in a loose martial robe crouched down with his hands crossed, his tongue pressed against his teeth, and his whole body focused on his left and right punches, hitting a thick tree. The fist technique is smooth, allowing for easy retraction and release. The internal strength is contained without spitting out, with a softness in the middle and a certain degree of heat. The young man's name is Xianyu. He is 14 years old, beautiful and handsome, with a tall and upright posture, yet still childish. In the midst of his black hair, a pair of eyes as vast as stars and as deep as the eternal starry sky, displaying wisdom that does not match his age. 3 hours later, the sun rises high. Xianyu stopped punching and looked down at the blood-stained fists, sighing softly. I worked twice as hard as others, but the results I gained were not half as good as those with superior qualifications. Coming into a different world, I really don't know if it's a blessing or a curse. 2 months ago, Xianyu was on a plane and unfortunately had an air crash. When he woke up, he found himself traveling to a world called the Divine Moon Continent. Become a student of a martial arts school in the mainland. It took him 2 whole months to digest the memory of the original owner. Xianyu continent, revered by martial arts, with the law of the jungle and cruel and strict. Human beings cultivate martial arts and reach the pinnacle, reaching a state of transcendence and sanctification. Martial arts is divided into 9 levels, each with 3 levels. Minor, major, and peak. Beyond the 9 levels of martial arts, breaking the shackles, one leaps into a god and becomes a mythological figure, known as the Holy King of the world. The realm of the Holy King in the human world is the ultimate martial arts and the ultimate pursuit of millions of humanity. It is rumored that the Holy King of the human world can move mountains and fill the sea, soar through clouds and mist, and be omnipotent. A Holy King on earth, capable of changing the fortune of a dynasty for 100 years, is a divine existence. However, how difficult is cultivation in the world? Xianyu is a top-notch genius in Qingshan Town, under the jurisdiction of Xianyu County. At the age of only 14, he reached the pinnacle of martial arts and became a century-old prodigy in the hearts of everyone in Qingshan Town. But when he was included in Xianyu County, the Wuzong Academy that was above all else, Xianyu realized what a frog at the bottom of a well he used to be. Wuzong Academy collects all the geniuses in Xianyu County and collects them once a year. And he, among all the geniuses in Wuzong Academy, is only the bottom. Wuzong Academy divides students into 3 categories based on their qualifications. Core students, genius at the demon level, numerous times in the vast and boundless Xianyu County, and also one of the top geniuses, they have the most hope of chasing the elusive, Holy King of the world. Golden students, excellent level talents, are often outstanding talents in a city. Top talents who suppress other talents in the city will receive key training from the Wuzong Academy. Silver students, potential level geniuses, have superior talents in the small town. With a little effort, there may be hope. Su Yu is a silver student. He understands very well that silver students are a type of person who has no hope of achieving great success in cultivation, but it is a pity to give up. They are tasteless to eat and regretful to abandon, like chicken ribs. Silver students are not highly regarded, and the cultivation resources provided by the university are very limited, with a possibility of making a name for themselves approaching zero. Su Yu, hurry back to the academy, Duke of Qin summons you. An urgent voice pierced through the tranquility of the mountains and forests, and a middle-aged man in blue ran up the mountain panting, with a hint of anxiety on his face. Duke of Qin. Su Yu was stunned for a moment. He was just a commoner, how did he have the privilege of being summoned by the Duke of Qin? However, a pretty face flashed through Su Yu's mind, and he understood a bit. A cold smile flashed across the corner of his mouth. What's going on? Duke of Qin, can you neglect me? Follow me. The middle-aged man in blue impatiently stepped forward and grabbed Su Yu's shoulder, ignoring his emaciated body, and quickly descended the mountain. Su Yu gritted his teeth, enduring the sharp pain in his shoulders, and remained silent. Blue-clothed middle-aged, he is a school deacon who manages daily student activities. In the words of Earth School, he is the teaching director. After half a cup of tea. Shuefu, a luxurious and elegant, exquisite and dreamy lounge. Only core students, senior officials of universities, and dignitaries can rest here. In addition, golden and silver students are not eligible. Su Yu is also visiting the luxurious lounge for the first time, and ordinary poor boys may feel nervous when they come here. But Su Yu, in his past life, was an elite in the business world. He was a regular guest at 5-star hotels, presidential suites, and luxurious dances, with a calm mindset and a calm demeanor. In the lounge, there are 3 people, a young couple, and a noble and majestic man. As Su Yu's gaze swept over the 14-year-old girl, his gaze paused for a moment. That was a woman with a beautiful and elf-like appearance. Her jade features were as delicate as carvings, her skin was fair as spring snow, her figure was exquisite, and she was dressed in spotless white clothes, resembling a fox fairy, very beautiful. However, she looked at Su Yu's gaze with a hint of coldness and complexity. Beside him was a 16-year-old boy, handsome and powerful, with an indescribable value. He was dressed in a luxurious robe, which contrasted sharply with Su Yu's simple martial robe. He gave Su Yu a contemptuous glance, with a calm and slightly disgusted expression in his eyes. The last man with extraordinary dignity, tall and handsome, standing still and giving off a sense of oppression. Are you Su Yu? I'm Duke of Qin. Nice to meet you. Duke of Qin, one of the 3 great lords of the Maple Forest Empire, showed no arrogance at this moment, but was unusually friendly. He smiled and asked Su Yu to sit down. Su Yu shook his head coldly in his heart, completely unaffected by the warmth. Those in high positions are highly regarded by billions of people, so they attach great importance to their own rest and image. Just like politicians on Earth, even though they are in a state of chaos, they still shake hands and exchange pleasantries after meeting, with a smile on their face, only stabbing knives and making black moves under the stage. I am Qin Feng's father, and this time, I am here for his relationship with Qing'er. The Duke of Qin had a handsome face and a warm smile appeared. I have heard Feng'er talk about everything. As a father of Feng'er, I apologize to you. Su Yu's heart flashed with bitterness, which was the bitterness of another remaining soul of Su Yu. The girl in front of her, named Jiang Xueqing, was a genius who came out of Qingshan town with Su Yu and was also included as a student of Wuzong Academy. 2 childhood sweethearts, 2 unsuspecting children, a golden boy and a jade girl, a perfect match made in heaven and earth. However, after entering the Wuzong Academy, Jiang Xueqing from a small village was gradually intoxicated by the vast and bustling world. With her fox fairy-like beauty, it is difficult to avoid being sought after by young elites and handsome geniuses. At first, she was able to persuade herself to stick to her original intention and accompany Xianyu through the first year of school. But gradually, as she understood the cruelty of the world, she transformed from an innocent little girl to knowing that Xianyu would find it difficult to have a future. Following her, she was likely to suffer and become a servant. Finally, her inner defense line dissipated. 2 months ago, he completely cut off contact with Xianyu and became the son of Duke Qin and the companion of Duke Xiaogua Qin Feng. Although Jiang Xueqing adhered to the duties of a good girl and never violated the relationship between men and women, the two of them often accompanied each other and remained inseparable, becoming an enviable couple in everyone's eyes. And Xianyu became the laughing stock of the Wuzong Academy. Xianyu was greatly affected and repeatedly begged Jiang Xueqing to change his mind, even kneeling down to plead, losing face, but all were coldly refused by Jiang Xueqing. Xianyu couldn't bear the great tragedy of life and threw himself into the lake to commit suicide. Coincidentally, Xianyu on Earth experienced an air disaster, and his soul crossed over to him, a pitiful and weak person. The Duke of Qin saw Xianyu falling into memories and felt that he couldn't let go of his friendship with Jiang Xueqing. He sighed and said, "Feng'er is young and immature. His fault, I am willing to pay compensation. Whatever you want, just mention it. But as a father, I hope you can fulfill Feng'er. He is serious about Miss Xueqing." Listening to the seemingly heartfelt words of Duke Qin, Xianyu shook his head secretly in his heart. This trick can still deceive ordinary people, but it is useless to him. Did you take my girlfriend and make me happy? This is not to apologize, it's clearly using force to suppress others. The Duke of Qin appears to have a gentle attitude, but in reality, he is full of blatant insults. May I ask, if it is a woman of the monarch, a woman of the emperor, who is favored by his son, the Duke of Qin, dare to let the monarch give up his woman to Qin Feng? He dare not, because he cannot provoke the monarch, he can only provoke civilians like Xianyu. Xianyu shook his head lightly and stood up to leave. He had no attachment to a realistic girl like Jiang Xueqing, and even if Duke Qin did not use his power to dominate others, he had no intention of competing for her. As for the compensation that Duke Qin claimed, although Xianyu lacked cultivation resources, although he was a poor boy, he had nothing. But he still has a will not to give up, and has not yet fallen to the point of being given alms. If he really accepts the charity from the Duke of Qin today, then he will lose his entire life. In front of them, Xianyu will never be able to lift his head. Jiang Xueqing understood the personality of Xianyu, and was stubborn and unwilling to give up. Seeing that he wanted to leave, she thought he was still unwilling to give up. With a gentle bite of her silver teeth and a gentle movement of her lotus steps, her snowy eyes shone like a cold moon. "Xianyu, please respect my choice. Since it's today, I'll speak completely and hope you can give up." Jiang Xueqing's eyes flashed coldly. Qin Fengui, as a small duke, will surely become a pillar of the empire in the future. He can give me glory, wealth, and honor. As a poor boy in a mountain village, can you give me? Qin Fengzuan is a golden student who will eventually catch up with the holy king of the mortal world and stand tall among billions of people. Can you give me a sense of security as a silver student? Can you give it to me? Xianyu, accept reality. I don't deny that you were once my beloved and the most dazzling genius in my heart. However, that was because I was too young, too innocent, in the real world, cruel and real, and I had no choice. Jiang Xueqing cut off the last trace of concern in her eyes and gazed at Xianyu's gaze, gradually becoming distant, as if looking at a stranger. She sighed softly, "Fenggu is very kind. As long as you promise not to come to me again in the future, he will do his best to compensate you and give you a few soul-melting pills to promote cultivation. Your strength has improved, and your days at school will be much better." After some thought, Jiang Xueqing took out a palm-sized statue of a woman carved with crystal from her sleeve. Crystal clear, sparkling with a brilliant depth. The most beautiful thing is that the woman in the crystal statue is ethereal and beautiful, like a fox fairy, so beautiful as a heavenly fairy, so captivating. The statue looked like a woman, lifelike and indistinguishable from its owner, Jiang Xueqing, who was holding it. This is the love gift you gave me. Now, I'll give it back to you. We'll never owe each other again. Jiang Xueqing mercilessly placed the statue in Su Yu's hand, turned back to Qin Feng's side, looked out into the sky, no longer at Su Yu, cold and heartless. New book, if you like it, please support it more. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Nine Dragon Divine Cauldron. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2 Nine Dragon Divine Cauldron. The crystal statue was personally carved by Su Yu and is a token of love given to Jiang Xueqing. The college distributes 1 or 2 silver coins per month, and Su Yu is frugal. He is afraid to buy new clothes and doesn't dare to eat good food. When other male students gathered together and bought alcohol under the moonlight in Huatian, Su Yu gradually saved money and dared not spend a penny recklessly. He used all the money he saved to buy crystals, repeatedly carving and sculpting the most beautiful Jiang Xueqing in his heart. During the scorching heat, everyone else was cooling off, and he was sweating profusely while carving. Once, due to heatstroke, he fainted in his dormitory. In the cold winter, while others were roasting the stove, he held cold crystals in his hands and kept carving. His palms were cracked and bleeding from the cold. Finally, after a year of hard work, he finally carved out the most beautiful Jiang Xueqing in his heart. He still remembers Jiang Xueqing at that time, with such bright eyes, so moved, and so tearful. Today, 1 year later, the past friendship, love, and emotion have all been coldly returned. Su Yu lowered his head and looked at the beautiful crystal statue in his hand. His eyes were as deep as the eternal starry sky, both unworthy of being a true Su Yu and mocking. Realistic women, who have seen more in their previous lives, will accompany whoever has more money to bed. Jiang Xueqing, he really looks down on her. Apart from her beauty, she is nothing. The emotions have dissipated, how can we settle them? This thing is meaningless. Surprisingly, Su Yu did not have any emotions such as disappointment, sadness, anger, etc. Instead, he remained calm like a deep winter lake, without any ripples. With a gentle palm wave, the crystal statue was thrown to the ground by him. Click wipe, the beautiful and ethereal statue of a woman shattered in an instant, leaving only fragments of crystal residue, shaking the mottled memories of time. This fall, the last bit of bond between him and Jiang Xueqing dissipated. Stretching lazily, Su Yu showed a relaxed smile of relief and said, you can rest assured. I'm really worried, you have feelings for me. If Jiang Xueqing still has feelings for Su Yu, it is feared that Su Yu's remaining soul will never be extinguished and will always be concerned. She was so resolute that in the moment she handed back the token of her past love, Su Yu's last bit of obsession completely dissipated. Goodbye, my former Qing'er, my former lover. As he waved his sleeve, Su Yu let out a gentle sigh, as if to convey the last disappearing thoughts for the deceased Su Yu. Then, he left with his hands free and easy, never looking back again. The past is like dust, disappearing in time and space. Su Yu has passed away, leaving only a brand new Su Yu. Jiang Xueqing's delicate body trembled, and the seemingly farewell words knocked open her cold heart. Looking back, she quickly chased after Su Yu's back, only to see a blur disappearing into the sea of people. At this moment, Jiang Xueqing's heart trembled slightly. She felt as if she had lost the most precious thing in life and could never be found again. Looking at the shattered statue, Jiang Xueqing was stunned. After a long time, she regained her senses and her gaze gradually became cold and ruthless, annihilating the last trace of love in her heart. I, Jiang Xueqing, am beautiful and destined to be an extraordinary woman for a lifetime. How can you, Xianyu, be worthy of me? It's not me abandoning you. It's your incompetence. My choice, Jiang Xueqing, won't be wrong. Waiting for Jiang Xueqing to leave with a cold face. Qin Feng looked on coldly and said contemptuously, that kid, pretending to be free and easy to win Qing'er's attention. Humph, I think he still hasn't given up. But it was the Duke of Qin who, if he had a deep gaze at Su Yu's back, slowly shook his head and said, I don't think so. This son is not as incompetent and cowardly as you said, but rather wise and calm, with a firm mind, free and unrestrained, and with a little cultivation, perhaps he can become a talent. Then kill him before he rises. Qin Feng doesn't like anyone having any relationship with his woman, even if they were once lovers. The Duke of Qin shook his head slightly and said, no way. The deadline for the monarch is approaching, and it is the time for the competition for the throne. I support the crown prince and am seen as a thorn in the side by the other princes. They are searching everywhere for a handle on me. At this critical moment, if you see someone's partner, I will have a fault of not being able to teach my son properly and easily become their target for criticism. At this point, Duke Bo of Qin was angry and said, otherwise, as Duke of Qin, I have countless opportunities to deal with things every day. How could I come specifically to Xianyu County to handle the situation for you? At this point, if you kill Xianyu, wouldn't it be no different from killing someone and taking his wife? As a father, I will be implicated by you. Qin Duke remained calm and said, so now, you hold your ground and after the matter is completed, it's not too late to kill again. Qin Feng knew this was the case, but he felt very uncomfortable. Is it just watching him sway in front of me like this? Xianyu was just a thorn in his flesh, and he couldn't get rid of it. The Duke of Qin waved his hand slightly and said, not killing him temporarily doesn't mean we can't touch him. You don't need to ask about this matter. My father has his own way to drive him out of the Wuzong Academy, completely cutting off his path to success and preventing future troubles. After a cup of tea, the Duke of Qin bowed and bid farewell to the middle-aged man in blue clothes. I'll leave this matter to Deacon Jiang. Qin Duke secretly gave a bag of gifts, saying with profound meaning. Director Jiang smiled apologetically and said, Duke of China, don't worry. After half a month, it will be the assessment of the university. Silver students will be eliminated by half every year. Xianyu's qualifications are average and he is already among the eliminated. That's great, said Duke Qin, letting go of his worries and soaring away. Qin Feng watched his father leave with a sharp gleam in his eyes. Humph. It's too cheap for him to be comfortable and eliminate the losers. Although I can't personally take action, isn't it easy for others to take action? Qin Feng said coldly. Qing'er has a hint of unfinished thoughts in her heart. She needs to see Xianyu in a disheveled state and understand that living with him is not a good life. Only then can she completely extinguish her desire for a resurgence of old love. Returning to the mountains and forests, Xianyu practiced as if nothing had happened. However, today's events ultimately stimulated him and made it difficult for him to cultivate with peace of mind. Looking up at the endless sky, Xianyu's fist slightly grabbed it. Today's shame, although it is another Xianyu, how can I know if I will suffer the same shame in the future? Xianyu pondered. In a world where the strong are the most respected, why is it that my qualifications are so poor that I can only achieve half the result of several times more effort than others? Looking at the sky, Xianyu was unwilling and roared loudly, the heavens are unfair. If you give me excellent qualifications, I will work 10 times harder to become the holy king of the world and overlook the world. The roar of anger, carrying unwillingness, surged straight into the sky. Rumble, suddenly, Xianyu looked up and saw a small black dot falling from the sky, with a thunderous and unbiased sound, hitting him. Damn it! Your sister, it's just a roar. Do you want to do this? Bang, ah! A beautiful scream pierced through the silence of the mountains and forests. Xianyu fainted on the spot, unaware of his life or death. Night falls. Oh, it hurts, it hurts. Su Yu's limbs twitched and he woke up slowly, covering his forehead and twitching at the corner of his mouth. Oh, my hand. Su Yu was surprised to find that it was clearly nightfall, but his vision was amazing, like daylight, and his palm fingerprints were clearly visible. Even 100 meters away, he could see clearly a toad hidden under a stone, ready to forage. Carrying a reflective metal, Su Yu was surprised to find that her eyes and pupils had turned white, like two translucent crystals, shining brightly. With suspicion in mind, Su Yu stood up. My body. He was accustomed to carp thrusting, but his legs were too strong, exceeding expectations, causing his body to lose control and almost stumble and fall. After exploring, he found that his chi and blood had doubled in strength, and his body was as light and agile as a swallow, as if he had unloaded a 20-pound burden and undergone a revolutionary change. Breaking through the double sky. Su Yu was surprised and couldn't close his mouth in surprise. He has reached the pinnacle of heaven for more than half a year, but he has yet to overcome that hurdle. Unexpectedly, I inexplicably hit my head and broke through in an instant. Doubt flashed in Su Yu's eyes, and he looked inside for a moment. Shocked to discover, in the spiritual world, there was an additional bronze cauldron the size of a thumb, carved with 9 dragons, lifelike, as if about to fly away in the next moment. A trace of residual red liquid overflowed from the cauldron, slowly transforming his physical body. Did this mysterious little cauldron just hit me and entered the sea of my consciousness? At the same time, the mysterious red liquid improved my body, broke the bottleneck, and allowed me to break through the martial arts realm. Su Yu was surprised and tried to move it out, but couldn't shake it at all. After pondering for a long time, Su Yu gritted his teeth and said, although I don't know if it's good or bad, relying on it, I have broken through the double heaven and even obtained a pair of strange pupils. Next, I will devote myself to cultivation and strive to be assessed in half a month without being eliminated. Su Yu clenched his fist and looked excited. Looking up at the sky, Su Yu's eyes were filled with determination and a proud smile. In the mountains and forests, those who are indifferent, thank you for once belittling me and keeping my head down for a more exciting life. Along the way, walking flat, ignoring the darkness, I returned to my dormitory from the mountain. Silver students share a dormitory for 2 people, with limited space and only 1 bed for rest. It is said that golden students will have a separate courtyard and servants to serve them. The entire Wuzong Academy has 10,000 silver students, only 100 gold students, and only 10 rumored core students, geniuses at the demon level. To enjoy the comfortable environment of a single-door courtyard, the difficulty is unimaginable. Su Yu's roommate was a young man with dark skin and a fierce temperament, named Wu Song. Wu Dao'erzhong has achieved a small breakthrough for several months now. As roommates with him, Su Yu is often treated as a servant. However, the other party's cultivation was high and not too excessive, so Su Yu had to swallow his anger. Get out. Sleep in the hallway tonight. As soon as he pushed open the door, Wu Song kicked him with a swift and violent force, his right leg like a whip. In the pitch black, unpredictable and difficult to guard against. Fortunately, Su Yu's pupils mutated and he saw darkness and nothing. With a little tiptoe and toes exerting force, the body is as light as a swallow, taking a step back 1 meter in the air. Shua, Wu Song kicked in the air with a strange expression on his face, clearly not expecting Su Yu to avoid it. What are you doing? Su Yu's eyes suddenly turned cold. At this moment, he is no longer what he used to be, no longer the scapegoat Su Yu. He has no intention of swallowing his anger. Are you unhappy? Do you have any objections? Get out. From now on, I'll be the only one in the dormitory, you sleep in the hallway. Wu Song rolled his eyes coldly. What kind of mind is Su Yu? Instantly realizing something was wrong, his relationship with Wu Song, although extremely poor, was not to this extent. Thinking of the daytime situation, I guessed 7 or 8 in my heart. Wu Song, most likely bought by Qin Feng, didn't leave his hand on the leg just now. He intended to seriously injure Su Yu. Thinking about this, how could Su Yu be polite? End of this chapter. 3, Chapter 3 Time Control. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3 Time Control, damn it. He remained calm and composed, but when angry, he became angry, and when he acted, he acted. When it's not appropriate to hold back, it's not called holding back, it's called cowardice. The movement in the corridor attracted the onlookers of nearby silver students, with heads gradually emerging. Ha! Did I see anything wrong? Su Yu actually has a kind of resistance against Wu Song. Someone joked. Many people embrace their arms and lean against the wall to watch the show. Who knows? Maybe someone might take their love with a knife and change their temperament. Huh, it's interesting. Su Yu, this turtle grandson, heard that he even picked up the urinal for Wu Song in the middle of the night. Now, he dares to resist. Wu Song sneered, "You're too brave to fight me." Su Yu quickly calmed down, ignoring the teasing of those around him, and quickly took action. Bai Yi Lian Tian leg. Su Yu moved like a rabbit and launched a fierce attack with a thunderous momentum. Standing alone on the ground with one leg, the knee and ankle joints twist together to move the foot, while the other foot lifts up and retracts the curl. The leg movements are coherent and indistinct like shadows. Wu Song easily flashed and took half a step back. Praying mantis drunken fist. He crouched slightly in his lower abdomen, stable as a rock, unable to move in the wind, with slightly bent knees, full of explosive power, able to leap forward at any time, launch attacks, and be both offensive and defensive. With both arms in a sickle shape and 5 fingers in a straight line, the momentum shrinks and resembles that of a cicada catching mantis, serving both defense and offensive preparation. The shadow of his leg struck, and Wu Song's right arm was as fast as lightning. Hiss, I only heard the sound of my clothes breaking through the air, and the attack on my right arm had arrived. I tapped on the bottom of Su Yu's shoe and blocked the attacking leg. The onlookers shook their heads and sneered, "Are you an idiot? How could you possibly win over a Kongshan at the peak of Yikongshan?" Indeed, even if Su Yu manages to break through a Kongshan, he cannot compete with Wu Song, who has already broken through. However, Su Yu did not give up, his leg movements kept going, and he boldly launched a series of attacks. Wu Song resolved once again, but his brow furrowed slightly. He realized that the next attack power could not make him easy. There was a slight pain between the fingers. What's going on? Just one heavy day at a time, how could one's strength be so terrifying? The two were entangled together, with figures intertwined and fists and legs intersecting. Puchi Pa, the sound of confrontation has attracted more attention. Oh, what's going on? Su Yu has had so many fights with Wu Song. Did Wu Song intentionally avoid it? Some people gradually realized something was wrong and put aside their teasing expressions. I don't think so, Wu Song seems to have some difficulty, a person with high vision said in an uncertain tone. The two of them were deadlocked and inseparable. At this moment, Su Yu was surprised to find that in his eyes, Wu Song seemed to have taken a slow medicine, and his speed slowed down by 30%, like a movie shot slowing down. What's going on? Su Yu was surprised. No matter what. Taking advantage of the opponent's slow progress, Su Yu found a flaw in his chin. Immediately, the right leg bounced fiercely. Bang 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 bang. Bang! Wu Song was heavily hit on the chin and his body was electrocuted. He suddenly threw himself into the dormitory, hitting his back against the hard edge of the bed and screaming in pain several times. His forehead was covered in fine sweat. How could you? How could that be? Wu Song turned pale in shock as he fought, and suddenly the opponent's speed inexplicably increased by 30%, kicking towards him. You have broken through the dual level of martial arts. Wu Song fixed his gaze on sensing the opponent's chi and blood, and was surprised. He attributed the opponent's strange changes to the breakthrough in cultivation. The people around me only then went to observe the opponent's chi and blood power, and they were shocked and turned pale. What? This turtle grandson. Oh, Xianyu, how could he break through the Erkongshan? A mocking Yikongshan Peak student changed his mind suddenly, his heart trembling. Xianyu's qualifications are average among the silver students, not bad, but not excellent enough, very mediocre. Teacher Chen, who taught them, evaluated that Xianyu's breakthrough in Erkongshan requires at least 2 more years of precipitation. Now, Xianyu has broken through the double heaven, which is truly surprising. Among the silver students, Erkongshan belongs to the middle class, exceeding the vast majority of students. Most of the students present to watch the excitement only have 1 day. Xianyu kicked Wu Song away, coldly scanning the noisy crowd around him. Immediately, everyone shrank their necks and rushed back to their dormitories. Damn it! Xianyu broke through the Erkongshan barrier. It's over. I've hit him once before. Damn it! This kid is hiding too deep. Judging from his defeat of Wu Song, he may have already broken through the Erkongshan barrier. The reason why he can't bear to let go is to see who is bullying him. It's over, I'm likely being targeted. God has no eyes. He can even surpass Erkongshan with such qualifications, why can't I? You know, the silver assessment is coming soon. For a moment, everyone remained silent like cicadas. Xianyu became a student of Erkongshan in one fell swoop, and was already regarded as an outstanding figure by many people, giving rise to a sense of awe. Those who had troubled him in the past were anxious and afraid of retaliation. Feeling the changes before and after, Xianyu secretly sighed that it is indeed a world that values strength. The gaze finally fell on Wu Song, who was lying on the ground and howling. Take your bed and get out of here. From today on, the corridor will be your dog's den. Xianyu shook his hand and threw the other person's bedding out. He has no mercy to give to the enemy. Wu Song was not satisfied, but at this moment he was lightly injured. Xianyu was also strange and inexplicable, so he had to swallow his anger and grit his teeth to move out. With a flash of his gaze, Wu Song plunged into the darkness. How's it going? How's the plan going? Qin Feng's voice was unusually familiar in a dark place. Wu Song respectfully and cautiously said, the opponent broke through the martial arts double heaven, but their plan failed and they couldn't take the opportunity to break his ribs. Breakthrough. That useless person. Qin Feng was surprised and pondered for a while before slowly waving his hand. You go, you won't be able to use this matter anymore. I need to hire another expert. Who? Wu Song was not convinced. If he was well prepared, he was confident in defeating Xianyu. Chen Feng. Qin Feng said with a faint sarcasm at the corner of his mouth, what, poisonous widow, Chen Feng. Wu Song's face, which was not satisfied, turned into a chilling expression, full of fear. Chen Feng is a great master of martial arts, ranking among the top 100 silver students. He possesses a poisonous skill that makes it difficult to approach within 3 inches. Among his peers, very few can restrain himself. In the competition, anyone who meets her will have a headache. What is extremely terrifying is that Chen Feng, this woman, is ruthless and ruthless. Every time she deliberately wielded a fierce hand, none of the enemies she had fought against were unharmed. Being beaten and vomiting blood on the spot, breaking hands and feet, is a minor injury. What's scary is that her poisoning skills are top-notch, and many people are unaware of the strange poison in their bodies, until it's too late for the attack. There was once a beautiful student who was jealous of her. They accidentally had a formal battle, and the beautiful student was superior in skills and won. At that time, nothing happened. A month later, the beautiful student had a hidden toxin outbreak in her body, her face was ulcerated, and she had no way to seek medical treatment. In the end, I dropped out of school with disappointment. Although the elders of their family found a miraculous medicine to restore their appearance, they missed the Wuzong Academy and their future was ruined. In the college, many silver students hate her to the bone, but no one dares to retaliate. Because Chen Feng also has a biological brother, Chen Tiannan. Their qualifications are extremely terrifying. Like a golden student. Among the silver students, their strength is unmatched, and they are undoubtedly the first place in silver. The first place silver students often receive an honor, which is the king of silver. The meaning is, the king among the silver students, the strongest person. Chen Tiannan's personality flaws must be reported, not much different from Chen Feng. Who dares to retaliate against Chen Feng? The Silver King, thinking of this terrifying existence, Wusong's face turned pale. If Su Yu had met her. Wusong shuddered and felt some sadness for Su Yu. Whether he lost or won, the outcome would be very unpleasant. The next morning, Su Yu's spirit was slightly tired. Throughout the night, I was in a state of excitement. The bronze cauldron changed his life and gave him the opportunity to become a strong person. He spent the whole night pondering his own changes. The bronze cauldron will not be mentioned for the time being, perched in the spiritual world, motionless. The biggest change should be in the eyes. The hidden crystal pupils not only have the ability to see things in the dark, but also have a strange effect of increasing one's speed. People from the Divine Moon continent may find it difficult to understand. But Su Yu has a wealth of scientific knowledge and understands the principle of accelerating his own speed. Time control. Placing oneself in a space of time acceleration, Wusong would feel that Su Yu's speed suddenly accelerated by 30%. Such an incredible ability made Su Yu sleepless all night. This means that as long as the strength is not too much higher than him, there is a chance to win. Su Yu did not become arrogant or complacent because of this, his strength is still too weak. The reason why Su Yu was able to defeat Wusong just after breaking through the double heavens last night largely depends on his persistent training and laying a solid foundation, thus being able to defeat Wusong. But his enemy is not Wusong, but the towering golden student Qin Feng, who is also the son of the powerful Duke of Qin. To enhance your strength, not only do you need to have a high level of cultivation, but also your cultivation skills are of utmost importance. Tomorrow, choose your cultivation skills. After dawn, Su Yu immediately rushed to the Wuzong Academy and the Sutra Pavilion. With a student ID, you can enter and exit. But silver students are only eligible to enter the first level, which includes the second and third levels. On the second level, only golden students are eligible to enter. On the third level, only the 10 demons with dragon heads but no tails can enter. Although his eyes were hotter and he was unable to qualify, Su Yu could only choose the first layer. There are 101 attack techniques and 101 auxiliary techniques, and only one can be borrowed. Within 6 months, no more can be borrowed. An old man guarding the staircase gave Su Yu a faint glance and mechanically ordered. The reason why borrowing is not allowed within 6 months is for the consideration of students. At the beginning of entering the martial arts world, the students have weak willpower, and their cultivation of one martial arts method is not effective, so they want to switch to another. In this way, a lot of energy and time are wasted, and in the end, nothing is achieved. After limiting the time for 6 months, the benefits are obvious. Firstly, when students make choices, they will carefully consider and avoid making hasty wrong choices and regretting them for 6 months. Secondly, after making a choice, the students will firmly practice. Can only borrow one door. Xianyu felt deeply regretful. The martial arts are divided into 3 levels: upper, middle, and lower. Bai Yi Lian Tian Leg belongs to the lower-level martial arts, and is the easiest basic skill to cultivate among the lower-level martial arts. Initially, Xianyu had low qualifications and started late, so he deliberately chose easy cultivation techniques for easy access. End of this chapter. 4. Chapter 4. Blue Falling and Yellow Spring. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. By Luo Huangquan. To pass the assessment in half a month, relying solely on beginner-level techniques is far from enough. Xianyu needs to cultivate more powerful techniques. The first floor of the Sutra Pavilion is full of lower-level martial arts, but even lower-level martial arts can vary in strength. In addition to the power of the technique itself, it also depends on whether the practitioner is suitable for practicing this technique and whether they can unleash the power of the technique. Compared to a roll of leg techniques, those who excel in leg techniques will have their power doubled after cultivation. People who have never practiced leg techniques, after practicing, have mediocre power. So, Xianyu does not insist on the power of his martial arts, but rather values his own attributes and whether they are coordinated. He has a foundation in leg techniques and also has a strong ability in palm techniques, making him highly selective. Oh, Blue Falling Yellow Spring. Xianyu discovered a lower-level martial arts technique. It is a technique that combines fist and leg techniques, with power and cultivation difficulty far superior to the Bai Yi Lian Tian Leg. Among the many inferior martial arts, Bai Luo Huangquan is considered one of the most top-notch, and if it is barely graded, it can be considered a top-notch martial art. Sink down and read carefully. Huangquan generally refers to underground. Blue sunset, pointing towards the sky. The blue sunset and yellow spring describe everything from heaven to earth. This cultivation technique combines leg techniques and fist techniques to a great extent. The fists and feet are intertwined and combined, and the attacks are dense and impenetrable, making it difficult to defend. It has an aura of heaven and earth, making it impossible to escape. The basic requirements for cultivation are that the fists and legs must have a certain degree of heat, the body should be agile, have strong coordination, be as calm as a brilliant fallen leaf, and move like a thunderous thunderbolt. The core requirement of cultivation is to have excellent eyesight, insight into all things around the world, and control all movements and movements. Otherwise, it will be useless to practice. Practicing with caution, successful practitioners of this technique are less than 1 in 1,000. Xianyu's eyes were blazing with passion, it was simply tailor-made for him. The power of Bai Luo Huangquan is extraordinary, and there must be many coveters. But they may meet the basic requirements, but it is difficult for them to meet the core requirements. Vision. Now Xianyu's eyes can recognize the legs of an ant from a distance of 100 meters, as if watching up close. Okay. Just practice it. Xianyu secretly rejoiced. Watching the old man, he gave a faint glance at the blue falling yellow spring and shook his head slightly, saying, "Young people, don't be impatient. Choose the right cultivation method for yourself, which is the key to success. The power of the cultivation method is secondary." Xianyu bowed and thank you for your guidance, senior. Although the old man is indifferent, his words are precious and he should be grateful. After a moment of contemplation, Xianyu decided to temporarily put down the blue falling yellow spring. I can only enter the Sutra Pavilion once every 6 months, why not take a closer look? He has read most of the 101 attack techniques and did not find them satisfactory, which is far less suitable for him than blue falling yellow spring. Suddenly, when I flipped through the 101st and final martial arts, my eyes lit up. The secret scroll of 100 steps through yang arrows. This volume is only suitable for those whose weapon is a bow and arrow. Power depends on the power of the bow and arrow itself, the archer's arm strength, accuracy, and whether it hits the key point. The power varies from person to person. The basic requirement is extremely high for eyesight, which must be at least 50 meters away and visible to the eye. If it cannot be achieved, do not practice to avoid wasting energy and time. Su Yu's heart was greatly moved. In his eyes, he could see the ant legs clearly from 100 meters away, far exceeding the requirements. He resisted the desire to take it away and continued to observe. Shaoqing, 108 auxiliary techniques, all browsed, only blue falling yellow spring and 100 steps through Yang Arrow's secret scroll can enter the eye. He didn't leave in a hurry and patiently watched the auxiliary techniques. 1001 rolls, with a wide variety. There are poisonous techniques that make one tremble at the wind, alchemy, formations, and seal script. These are not things that Su Yu is good at and he is not interested in. Suddenly, he discovered a lightness technique called cloud shadow and ping traces, which was among the auxiliary techniques. This volume is only suitable for those with extremely strong comprehension to cultivate. The difficulty of comprehension is extremely high, so choose carefully. Power, when cultivated to the first level of great perfection, the speed can be proud of the same realm. When cultivated to the second level of great perfection, the speed is comparable to that of a stronger realm. When cultivated to the top of the third level, the speed far exceeds that of a higher realm. The requirements for cultivation are to have a strong understanding. Those who succeed in cultivation are not worth one. Be cautious. Su Yu's eyes were hot, not even one, and he bluntly said that perhaps no one in the entire Wuzong Academy has successfully cultivated. Su Yu was also extremely moved by its power. If the cultivation is successful, combined with the 100 steps piercing Yang Arrow, long-range attacks are like adding wings to a tiger. It's a pity that only one roll can be taken away. Su Yu reluctantly returned to the blue falling yellow spring, picked it up and carefully read it, thinking in his heart, could he force a note down and then take one away? He has a good memory of his past life. Although he doesn't have the ability to remember everything, he can write down 3,000 words in an hour, which is more than enough. Just a rough count of the number of words in by Luo Huang Quan made him feel dejected. This is at least over 30,000 words, and it takes 10 hours to remember. It is obvious that the Sutra Pavilion will not allow students to stay for 10 hours. However, flipping through it, Su Yu found himself entering a wonderful realm. The old man beside him seemed to have become a wooden figure, motionless. The air is also stationary. Coincidentally, a student came in and stood there in a lifting posture. Time control. Su Yu was surprised and immediately thought of his binocular abilities. When he flipped through a book, his double pupil talent triggered, causing him to be in an extremely fast time flow. He experienced 10 hours, while others only experienced 1 hour. Unlike in combat, it seems that when the power of qi and blood in the body is in a boiling state, the passage of time around the body will only accelerate by 30%. And in a quiet state, such as when reading, the passage of time around the body accelerates tenfold. With great joy in his heart, Su Yu immediately devoted himself to reading. 10 hours later, Su Yu's face turned pale. After memorizing 30,000 words, he was also exhausted enough. But a ray of joy permeated his face, and blue falling yellow spring was already all in his mind. And all of this, the outside world only passed an hour. Guardian of the old man, just strange, Su Yu stared at a book for a full hour. Is it difficult? Does he want to remember the whole book? Unless he has the ability to remember everything, it's impossible. The old man didn't take it seriously. Next, Su Yu followed suit and spent 10 hours memorizing the 100 steps through Yang Arrow's secret scroll. Finally, I will only borrow the shadow of the clouds. After memorizing 2 volumes of martial arts, he was exhausted enough. Moreover, chewing too much is not enough, and the 3-volume cultivation method is already the limit. Guardian of the elderly, amazed. Good kid, I have reminded you many times not to be too ambitious. Do you believe it or not? In The Cloud Shadow and the Duckweed, greedy people do not know the geometry, but there are very few successful cultivators. If you haven't achieved anything in 6 months, it depends on what you do. The old man's face showed displeasure and he said calmly, remember, the techniques of the Sutra Pavilion are not allowed to be spread externally. Once reported, you will be expelled from the school. Yes. Xianyu clenched his fists. When he returned to the dormitory, Wu Song was lazily lying in the corridor, calmly accepting the gaze of passers-by. Seeing Xianyu return, he showed a provocative gaze. This place is indeed suitable for you, Xianyu smiled lightly and ignored it. Unexpectedly, Wu Song was well prepared and gloated, anyway, you can't stay for long. In the end, I'll be the only one in the dormitory. Xianyu raised his eyebrows. After entering the door, I found a pitch-black letter on the table. Upon hearing that Brother Su has broken through the double heaven and made great progress in strength, he is eager to compete with Brother Su and exchange martial arts skills. 7 days later, at the silver arena of the academy, he will fight against you, Chen Feng. Chen Feng. Suyu's mind was filled with joy, and her face immediately froze. He has also heard of this female celebrity, who is cruel and ruthless, with strange and unpredictable poisonous skills. Her hands are damaged by the silver student, and he doesn't know how much. It's Chen Feng again. Suyu's heart was like a clear mirror. Chen Feng had never met him before, so why challenge him? Frowning, Xianyu felt a slight heaviness in his heart. He can ignore ordinary challenges. But 7 days later, it happened that the school would challenge the arena every 2 weeks, and the challengers were in the same realm and could not be refused. He broke through to the second level of martial arts and achieved great success, which is the same realm as Chen Feng's martial arts and cannot be refused. Otherwise, he will be punished by the university, ranging from demotion to dismissal. Chen Feng was watching from the side, afraid that he couldn't wait for him to refuse in order to find a reason to dismiss him. Give up. Chen Feng is not comparable to someone like you who has just entered Erkongshan. Wu Song gloated. Xianyu, with a solemn expression, walked out into the small forest behind the mountain. Within 7 days, one may not have full confidence in reaching the level of double heavenly perfection. The only way to enhance one's strength is through the 3-volume technique. First of all, there is, by Luo Huang Quan, which excels in both martial arts and martial arts. This cultivation method does not require a strong understanding, but focuses more on basic skills. Fist-leg heat, agility of body movements, and most importantly, eye power. Xianyu possessed all of these and began practicing in the open mountains and forests in obscurity. 2 days later. Crackle, fists and legs, intertwined like shadows, hit each other at the same position on the big tree without bias, completely overlapping, with terrifying accuracy. The intervals between the punches and legs were only half a breath. Xianyu had an excited expression on his face. Although Xianyu had average qualifications during his lifetime, he never gave up his efforts and honed his body over time, so his physical fitness was excellent. With the cooperation of my crystal pupils, his cultivation became natural. In just a short time, he achieved a great level of perfection. The first layer of great perfection attacks one area with both fists and legs, exuding explosive power. Coupled with the power of the technique itself, it is capable of surpassing the vast majority of disciples of the martial arts double heaven Xiaocheng. But it's not enough. I'm not dealing with the martial arts second-level Taiangxiaking, but with the disciples of Deshang, and it's strange and unpredictable, difficult to guard against. Sink down, Xianyu continues to cultivate. 3 days later, there are only 2 days left until the challenge of the school arena. Hula, I saw a nimble body, like a spiral, with a right fist hitting a certain position on the big tree. Immediately after, with lightning speed, I kicked the same position with my right foot, powerful and explosive. However, these were not enough. The left foot followed closely and continued to hit the same position, while the left hand hit hard and hit the same position. Continuous fists and feet, each time with astonishing explosive power, yet never fully unleashed. For attack stacked, airtight, up and down, with no escape. This is the essence of, by Luo Huangquan. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Gold and Silver. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5 Gold and Silver. After 5 days of cultivation, relying on strong eyesight and physical foundation, I finally reached the second level of great perfection, only a narrow gap from the final third level. The third layer is even more powerful. It is said that when cultivated to a great extent, it can attack with punches and legs continuously, compressing the enemy without the ability to fight back. However, Xianyu felt that his heat was far from enough to reach the third level. Temporarily put aside, blue falling yellow spring. In the 100 Steps Through the Yang Arrow secret scroll, he still has no bows and arrows on his body and cannot practice. So, only his long-awaited, The Shadow of the Clouds, remains. Open this volume and read it carefully. Xianyu suddenly had a big head, and after only reading a few hundred words, he felt dizzy and confused. He couldn't understand and his mind was a mess. Wow! It's such a difficult skill to understand, so it requires comprehension. So it seems that my comprehension is not high. Xianyu realized the helpless fact. However, Xianyu has always been persistent and never gives up on what he has determined. I don't believe I can't understand you. Xianyu rolled up his sleeves and flipped through his eyes. In his pupils, there were 2 crystal pupils that were faintly visible. 2 hours later, Xianyu, who was as motionless as a stone, suddenly fell to the ground and fell asleep. Inadvertently, he activated the power of the crystal pupils, and after 2 hours outside, he had already been enlightened for a full 20 hours. Feeling mentally exhausted, I fell asleep uncontrollably. An hour later, he was clever and flipped over, once again focusing on comprehending the technique, falling into the acceleration of time and space. 2 hours later, he fell again. An hour later, he got up again and continued. So repeated, for 2 whole days and 40.8 hours, it was all like this. Apart from his sleep and rest time, he actually spent a total of 320 hours of enlightenment, a total of 13 days. Not eating or drinking, not sleeping or resting, for a whole 13 days. At this moment, Xianyu's eyes were bloodshot and his head was dizzy, but he had a silly smile on his face. Success. Although I have only reached the first level of enlightenment, I have finally succeeded. Xianyu chuckled. He has a low level of intelligence and can only be considered among the top and middle class, but diligence can make up for his shortcomings, and finally he has achieved something. Shua, Xianyu's knees curved slightly, and his calves suddenly exerted force. His body was like a soaring swallow, crossing a distance of 2 meters in one step, like a horse stepping on a flying swallow, and his whole body was as light as a hongyu, effortlessly drifting in the forest. The figure is like the wind, and the posture of lightly jumping in the forest is like the falling shadows of white clouds, elegant and agile, free and natural. It's like a floating duckweed drifting, catching a glimpse of a swan and drifting in the waves. Hey, little princess, look at this. Your handsome body style, in terms of speed alone, should have the level of her Kongshan de Shang. A pretty girl in purple was slightly surprised. Beside her was a woman in a long yellow dress, with a slender and delicate figure, petite and delicate, and big and round eyes, very cute. The face is very delicate, as if carved little by little, and the skin is as white as snow, resembling a little beauty like a porcelain doll. Upon hearing this, the lovely little beauty blinked her big eyes and looked around, only to find herself empty. The little beauty immediately glared at the girl in purple and said, stop talking nonsense. Let's quickly enter the mountain, hunt down wild beasts and sell them for money. Buy Rongling treasure pill to increase blood and refine muscles and bones. Damn my father, he has stuck all my money, causing me to risk entering the mountains and forests. I want to go on a hunger strike, a hunger strike. The little beauty complained angrily. The girl in purple next to them giggled and turned around to follow a 15 or 16-year-old young guard behind them, instructing, Li Minghai, be careful to protect the safety of the little princess at all times. Yes. The young guard excitedly responded, his eyes flickering as he scanned the back of the little beauty. The little beauty looked back disdainfully and glared at him, protect me. You. Humph, I just asked you to fight against the prey. This princess doesn't want anyone to protect her. Wuzong Academy, a semi-monthly arena challenge, attracts a lot of attention. If you have to say something similar, it's probably similar to the monthly exam in Earth School, which is assessed once a month. Arriving at the arena, there were a sparse group of 100 people waiting on the side. They are all participants in the arena, some being challenged and some taking the initiative to challenge. Who is Xianyu? A charming and pleasant voice rang out in the crowd. Xianyu turned her head and saw an ugly girl dressed in loose black clothes, with high hair and countless bumps on her face, resembling a toad. She was about 15 years old, looking left and right for Xianyu's figure. In her area, the crowd automatically divided into a large blank space, which made her feel both fearful and disgusted. Is it you who challenged me? Chen Feng. Xianyu did not back down. He should face it, sooner or later. The girl in black is Chen Feng. With a sideways glance, Xianyu's eyes lit up slightly. As he approached, he looked up and down with a seductive expression, nodding and approving with a smile, not bad, beautiful and handsome, very appealing to my sister. Unfortunately, I'm not interested in your face that offends the people. Xianyu stood up with his arms clasped, secretly wary of poisoning, but his mouth was not polite at all. Since we are already enemies, why be polite? Hey, look at that kid, are you looking for death? He is. Chen Feng hates it when people say she's ugly. Shoo, whisper. Chen Feng has a narrow heart. The beautiful senior sister who was disfigured by her last year was named and challenged by her because she secretly accused her of being ugly. The most terrifying thing is that this woman's poison technique is eerie. Even if she is poisoned, she is completely unaware. After the incident, the school cannot catch her flaw, so she is still at large. This kid named Xianyu, who is not well known, probably secretly said that she was known for being ugly and now she is going to suffer. At this moment, a white-bearded referee slowly walked onto the arena and announced expressionlessly, competition, start. Chen Feng did not show any anger, but instead had a deeper smile, just paired with that toad face, the smile seemed malicious. Little brother, sister will definitely love you well later. The characters are cold, and the malice is chilling. The winner is unknown. Xianyu said coldly in secret. In the first round, gold student Li Mingho competed against silver student Su senior Li Mingho, Wudao Sanchong Tiangxiaking. Su Sen, also known as Wudao Sanchong Tian Xiaocheng. However, Li Mingho was a student of Xianyu's class and successfully broke through the martial arts triple heaven within 1 year of enrollment. And Su Sen, on the other hand, was a senior silver student from the previous class, who only broke through the martial arts triple heaven in 2 years. This is still Su Sen's qualification among silver students, belonging to the upper class. This is the gap between gold and silver students, as well as the difference in qualifications. Su Sen, you have the courage to challenge me. Li Mingho stood with an arm in his arms and a cold gaze. Su Sen, with his slightly red eyes and a look of deep-seated hatred, gritted his teeth and said, Li Mingho. You and I are at odds. Xianyu and I were childhood sweethearts, but you took their love and forcibly snatched them away. I swear not to be a person if this revenge is not avenged. Su Sen, a little too excited, to the point where he couldn't bear to speak out in public. Under the stage, Xianyu's heart stirred slightly. What similar experiences are there? Li Mingho laughed heartily and said, Are you talking about that little girl Li Qian? Hee, she's throwing herself at me, why should I force her to grab her? Although she has been teased and thrown away by me, I have to say that those girls have a very good taste and are very energetic. Although Li Mingho is only 15 years old, as a young master of the family, he has been playing with women for a long time. If you want to blame yourself, then blame yourself for not having the ability to win the heart of your beloved. Li Mingho sneered, it's not too late for you to pick up that junk now. Maybe she will change her mind, I'll kill you. Su Sen's blood surged and he had lost his sanity. The horizontal soared immediately. Su Sen roared, his blood and energy were like a rainbow, and his strength was astonishing. With a black horse slaying sword and a chilling sword style, he swept towards Li Mingho's neck. Its momentum is astonishing, as fast as a startled swan. Xianyu was so shocked that if he faced this knife directly, there would be no reason for him to survive. Li Mingho sneered, as if taking a leisurely walk in the courtyard, casually drinking. The falling flowers are merciless. Its palms are agile and graceful, like graceful snake shadows, winding and floating. The speed is as fast as lightning, even faster than a horse sword. A layer of phantom flickered, and its palm wrapped around the back of the knife, winding upwards. Immediately, his 5 fingers gathered together, forming a crane beak, and he fiercely pecked at Su Sen's wrist. Su Sen felt pain and released his horse-chopping knife. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Li Mingho remained calm and lightly flicked his palm forward, poking Su Sen in the chest. Ah! Pup! Su Sen let out a scream, resembling an electric shock. He flew backwards and sprayed a mouthful of blood on his back, falling unconscious. Xianyu's pupils contracted. So strong. As both martial arts practitioners, Su Sen couldn't even stop Li Mingho's move. Xianyu was secretly shocked. Many silver students stood beside him, shocked and indescribable. Su Sen ranked 3rd among the silver students. He was so powerful that he suffered a disastrous defeat. This is the gap between gold students and silver students. Not only are there significant differences in cultivation talents, but there are also significant differences in the techniques practiced. The merciless falling flower belongs to the moderate cultivation method, while the horizontal sword immediately moves belongs to the lower cultivation method. In comparison, the power of the cultivation method differs greatly. Li Mingho easily walked down the stage and, as he passed by Su Sen, took out his student ID card. Each student has a student ID card to prove their identity as a Wuzong Academy. But Li Mingho's student ID card is light gold. Xianyu's is a dull silver gray. At this moment, the silver student ID card in Su Sen's arms suddenly dimmed a bit. A ray of silver light flew into Li Mingho's ID card, and the light golden color became slightly stronger. Upon seeing this, Li Mingho disdainfully spat on his face and said, "That's just this bit of martial arts aura. It's a waste of my young master's time." Wuzong Qi is the standard for measuring the strength of students in Wuzong Academy. Wuzong has the thinnest aura, just like Xianyu. The student ID card is a dim silver gray, indicating that his strength is the lowest. Wuzong has a strong aura, shaped like Li Mingho, and is a pale gold student ID card. In addition, the comprehensive consideration of cultivation level and qualifications can also affect the color of the student ID card. The only way for a silver student to become a gold student is to constantly fight, seize the martial arts aura of others, strengthen oneself, and one day, when reaching the limit, become a gold student ID card, officially promoted to a gold student. From now on, the special cultivation resources enjoyed by the golden students will open their doors to him. Any silver student dreams of becoming a golden student, and that is the goal they pursue. The crowd watched in awe as Li Mingho walked away, feeling too grand to breathe. Next, there were several more competitions, but no more golden students appeared. In the 10th round, silver student Chen Feng and silver student Jing Tao will compete. Xianyu's expression was stern, and it was the right time to observe Chen Feng. End of this chapter. 6, Chapter 6 Becoming Famous in World War I. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6 Becoming Famous in World War I. Jing Tao. I know. He is the pursuer of the disfigured and beautiful senior sister. I believe he was secretly complaining about Chen Feng when she found out, so she named and challenged him. Jing Tao is also among the top 100 silver students, ranking around 98, which is only a few places lower than Chen Feng. It shouldn't be too tragic, after all, he is also a great achievement in the double heaven, and his strength is not inferior. The competition is starting, the referee announced indifferently. Jing Tao was both fearful and resentful, gritted his teeth, and let out a low growl, single dragon diamond. The right leg suddenly erupted with bouncing force, Jing Tao leaped into the air like a big bird, and his left leg turned into a drill, piercing down from the air towards Chen Feng. Chen Feng gave a cold smile and jumped back easily. Jing Tao kicked empty with one foot, then landed on the ground with both feet. He stepped back and was about to continue his attack. But suddenly, Jing Tao frothed at the mouth, convulsing all over his body, and his face quickly turned from a rosy color to a pale one. My body is even more stiff and unable to move. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Chen Feng bullied his body and entered, with a malicious smile on his face. His delicate right hand revealed 5 sharp nails, clenched into ghost claws, and fiercely squeezed into Jing Tao's flesh. Then, with a hissing sound, he forcefully slashed past, causing a splash of blood and flesh. Ah! My face! Jing Tao's face showed 5 visible blood grooves, each of which was extremely ferocious and shaped like a centipede. The audience gasped for breath. Jing Tao, it's ruined. That nail contains toxins, unless he seeks a miraculous cure, he will follow the footsteps of that senior sister. Chen Feng is too strange. I still haven't understood how Jing Tao was defeated. Su Yu's eyes suddenly turned cold as he watched, such a vicious woman. The referee frowned, and according to the rules, they were not allowed to kill each other. Chen Feng, however, was injured but not killed, wandering on the edge of the rules, and he had no choice but to do so. With a disgusted glance at Chen Feng, the referee declared indifferently, Jing Tao is defeated. A faint silver-white strand rushed out of Jing Tao's student license plate and entered Chen Feng's student license plate. Her student ID card is pure silver, without any impurities, only slightly weaker than Su Sen's brilliant silver-white just now. Among her peers, her student ID card has the brightest color. This is why she often challenges and rarely fails. There were several more rounds, but the situation was completely different from Chen Feng's brutal and bloody one. In the final round, silver student Chen Feng to silver student Su Yu. Everyone stood in awe. Unfortunately, he's another unlucky person. If I were him, I would immediately take the stage and admit defeat. This is the inevitable outcome, why suffer from Chen Feng's cruel hands? Su Yu appeared expressionless on stage. Chen Feng smiled coquettishly and said, "Sister said she would love you well." "Stop talking nonsense," Su Yu coldly shouted. "Humph." Chen Feng snorted coldly and flew over. A faint layer of gray smoke wrapped around her body 3 inches away, containing intense toxins that could not be touched. Mandala dance. Chen Feng's body spun like the wind, quickly approaching Su Yu. Su Yu was fearless and bravely welcomed him. Idiot. Chen Feng is covered in poisonous mist and cannot approach. Underneath the stage, someone cursed loudly for being confused. Chen Feng pursed the corners of her mouth, revealing a hint of a sly smile. Its rotating body rolled backwards and did not continue to attack, leaving a large blank space. What a stupid little brother. Why did Jing Tao suddenly get poisoned? Haven't you seen it clearly? Chen Feng sneered maliciously, "Your face, sister will love it well." "Shoo. I understand." There is a layer of poison on the soles of Chen Feng's feet, and wherever she steps on it, it will produce poison gas. If someone intrudes, they will be instantly poisoned, foaming at the mouth and convulsing all over, allowing Chen Feng to slaughter them. Su Yu understood that it was too late and fell into the ground where Chen Feng had walked, quickly enveloped by poisonous gas. However, strangely enough, Su Yu did not show any signs of poisoning. Instead, he smiled lightly at the corner of his mouth. His figure was like the wind, graceful like cloud shadows, and light like a duckweed. He came rushing towards Chen Feng and bullied him within one zhang. Others were shocked and said, "How could it be that you haven't been poisoned? Oh my God, what kind of body technique is that? It's light and graceful, like walking. Although it's only the entry-level realm of the double heaven, it unleashes a speed that's not weaker than the great achievement." Chen Feng's malicious ridicule and solidification were replaced by a touch of shock. How could it be? Did you carry a powder to dissolve the poisonous gas with you? Chen Feng was shocked and turned pale, but immediately rejected it. She changes different toxins every time. How could the other party know in advance and be prepared for detoxification? The answer to him was Su Yu's deep and vast eyes, as vast as the eternal starry sky. Watching her fight against Jing Tao, he understood. To deal with that eerie and unpredictable poison, the key is to remember the opponent's footsteps. As long as you don't step on the opponent's territory during the attack, you won't be poisoned. After all, carrying toxins on the soles of the feet is limited, and the toxic gas is only effectively used within a very narrow range. By relying on his pupils and controlling time, although Chen Feng's steps were fast and messy, it was not advisable to remember them. However, he was in the midst of acceleration time and easily remembered Chen Feng's footsteps crossing the area. Finally, in conjunction with Cloud Shadow and Ping Trace, move and dodge to avoid those areas and easily approach them. Blue Falling and Yellow Spring. Su Yu murmured in his heart. With one fist and one leg, intertwined like a shadow, moving horizontally and hitting her chest at the same time. Although there was a poisonous mist all around her, it was constantly circulating, with occasional gaps appearing. Capturing the gap, it means he will leave the phone. Chen Feng's face changed greatly and he hurriedly used his arms to resist. With a punch, Chen Fengdang felt pain and numbness in his arms. He felt great hatred in his heart and was about to fight back. But with a sudden kick, Chen Feng's arm rubbed and there was a sound of breakage, causing a sense of panic in his heart. If his arm were to break, the possibility of losing would greatly increase. However, without waiting for her to react, it was another punch. Fists and feet connected, without any gaps, tightly sealed. This time, Chen Feng's arm completely broke. Ah! Chen Feng let out a mournful scream, loud and sharp, echoing through the arena. But these are not over yet. Last kick, kick back. Pop, bang, Chen Feng couldn't bear it anymore. He opened his mouth and spat out a large mouthful of blood, like a stone being thrown away and falling heavily to the ground. His mouth was covered in blood and he passed out. Everyone fixed their eyes and gasped for breath. Chen Feng, whose arms in front of his chest were sunken, and his bone spurs with a ferocious blood color appeared through his body, causing an explosive fracture. If there is no miraculous medicine to connect bones and meridians, a pair of arms will probably be useless. There was a moment of silence on the field. What a terrifying fist and foot technique. It's powerful and impenetrable. Who is he? If he can defeat Chen Feng, he shouldn't be an unknown person. Just now I heard the referee shout, it seems to be called Su Yu, I haven't heard of it before. Ah! Su Yu. Is it Su Yu who was abandoned by Jiang Xueqing, one of the 3 beautiful women in the university? What, it's him. It's not that I heard that his qualifications are mediocre and he can't keep his beloved, that's why he switched to other men's arms. But now, being able to inflict heavy damage on Chen Feng has already surpassed the top 100 among the silver students, and no matter how mediocre their qualifications are, they cannot be described. After all, there are over 10,000 silver students. Looking at the miserable Chen Feng, everyone's hair was cold and they were secretly horrified by Su Yu's cruelty, while their hearts were filled with joy. Chen Feng, this woman is vicious and cruel. Unexpectedly, she capsized in the sewer and had her arms disabled by someone. 2 words, deserve it. However, everyone remembered a person's name and couldn't help feeling anxious for Su Yu. The King of Silver. Chen Feng's biological brother. Su Yu is probably finished. In 8 days, there will be a silver assessment, and there will be a challenge competition. The King of Silver, as the king among the silver students, has the authority to indicate challenges. At that time, how could Su Yu face the strongest silver, the King of Silver? The referee glanced at Su Yu with a hint of depth and declared indifferently, "Silver student, Su Yushen, remember your first challenge, let bygones be bygones, and pay attention to your accuracy next time. Beating Chen Feng, this matter can be big or small." The referee also disliked Chen Feng's cruelty, so he let Su Yu have some water. The license plate of Chen Fenghui Middle School instantly dimmed by half, turning into silver gray. Su Yu's student ID card, on the other hand, lit up quite a bit, changing from a dull silver gray to a silver gray, just short of a silver white one. How did you suddenly gain so much martial arts aura? Su Yu was different. In the previous few battles, there weren't as many winners. The referee rarely showed a faint smile and said, if the challenger wins, they only gain a quarter of the opponent's Wuzong Qi. But if the challenger fails, they will lose half of themselves. If you are challenged by Chen Feng, she is an active challenger. If she loses, she will naturally share half of her Wuzong Qi with you. Su Yu was overjoyed and gained so much at once, saving countless battles. Outside the arena, on a grassy slope, Jiang Xueqing couldn't conceal the surprise in her eyes, and she doubted whether she had read it wrong. Is the figure standing on the arena really Su Yu? Former Su Yu, a mediocre person who has been unable to break through for a long time, may even be eliminated this year. But now Su Yu not only broke through her Kongshan, but also fought beyond his level and defeated the notorious silver powerhouse Chen Feng. Looking at Su Yu like that, Jiang Xueqing couldn't help feeling chest tightness in her heart. For some reason, she didn't want to see Su Yu become stronger. It's just Chen Feng, I can crush him with just one finger. Su Yu's ability to win is not a big deal. Chen Feng, who was also known for his graceful demeanor, shook his head contemptuously. Jiang Xueqing, feeling a little uneasy in her heart, gently let go. Don't worry, Qing'er. I spent a lot of money to purchase a few Roamling treasure pills, and I am confident that you can break through the triple heavenly level in a short period of time. During the silver assessment, you will be amazed. In Jiang Xueqing's ethereal and beautiful eyes, there were colorful ripples, and her heart was in full bloom. When looking at Su Yu again, Jiang Xueqing's eyes were cold and she shook her head slightly, saying to herself, dragons and snakes do not live together. Su Yu, we are destined not to be in the same world. My choice will not be wrong. Dragons and snakes do not live together. Su Yu, you will never be worthy of me, Jiang Xueqing. The two of them left, and Chen Feng casually turned around to gaze at Su Yu's figure, his eyes instantly cold, sharp, and gloomy. He passed by the arena by chance with Jiang Xueqing, hoping that she would witness the tragic disfigurement of Su Yu and completely give up her heart. But what she saw was Su Yu's stunning performance, to the point where for an instant, Jiang Xueqing's heart was shaken. This Su Yu has grown too fast and cannot be eliminated from the silver trainees assessment. It seems that we must find some other way. By the way, Chen Feng's brother is the King of Silver. With his intervention, 8 days later, he will be enough to defeat him in the competition. Chen Feng's eyes flashed with a sneer. That Silver King Chen Tiannan is an extremely protective and ruthless person, with strong strength, even more powerful than many golden students. If he offends him, he won't have to take action from me, and he won't be able to escape misfortune. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. 100 Steps Through Yang. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. 100 Steps to Pierce the Yang. Xianyu became famous in World War I. Wuzong Academy quickly spread, and the silver student played a ruthless role, beating the poisonous widow Qinfeng. Ah, brother Yu is back. Please take a seat quickly, and I'll pour you some tea. As soon as he returned to the dormitory, Wuzong, like a pug, sat in front of and behind the horse, serving tea and water with utmost praise. Xianyu could see that there was a cold sweat on his neck, indicating that he had defeated Qinfeng and made Wuzong completely afraid. With high strength, Xianyu is too lazy to argue with such a soft bone that bullies the weak and fears the hard. Get lost. Don't wander in front of me. Wuzong not only didn't get angry, but was overjoyed and said, yes, I won't disturb brother Yu anymore. As he went out, he wiped his sweat hard and his face lit up with joy. Wow. Fortunately, Xianyu is not the one who holds grudges. Otherwise, with his strength and ruthlessness in defeating Qinfeng, I'm afraid I won't even be able to sleep in the hallway from now on. Sitting quietly for a moment, Xianyu pondered deeply. Entering the top 100 in silver and lifting the danger of being eliminated from the assessment in advance, but Qinfeng is watching closely, and I cannot relax for a moment. Xianyu gritted his teeth to himself. He had no intention of lingering on a heartless woman like Jiang Xueqing, but Qinfeng gritted his teeth and repeatedly tricked her. Such a great revenge will be avenged twice in the future. So, he must crazily enhance his strength. For self-protection, and also for revenge today. Qinfeng, wait for me. Xianyu clenched his fist secretly. Taking away his woman and taking his life, if this revenge is not avenged, Xianyu will be helpless for a lifetime. However, Qinfeng, both his own strength and the power of his family behind him, are exceptionally strong. Xianyu needs to work hard to improve his cultivation. Xianyu, if you don't make a name for it, it will be amazing. This silver assessment must shine brightly. Xianyu pondered for a long time, took a deep breath, and set himself an amazing goal. This decision, although somewhat ambitious. But Xianyu went to great lengths and fought with his back in the water. Time waits for no one. Qinfeng noticed that Xianyu was gradually growing and would not be given enough time. His only chance is to desperately exploit his potential, work hard to grow, and reach new heights before the next ultimate victory arrives. At the same time, after rising to fame, becoming a promising seedling, receiving attention and protection from students, rather than being a mediocre silver student, whether dead or disabled, universities will not overly value it. Wuzong, I'm going out for the next 8 days. If anyone challenges me, you can pick me up. Xianyu prepared his rations and walked out, first arriving at the weapon pavilion of the school. Practicing the 100 Steps Through the Yang Arrow secret scroll lacks a bow and arrow that is suitable for one's hand. The weapon pavilion is a place where universities provide free weapons for students. But, just like the Sutra Pavilion, each student can only choose a weapon once a year. If you want to choose a second weapon, you need to pay silver. Xianyu has never chosen a weapon, so he can choose it for free once, which saves him some money. Silver students from universities receive 1 or 2 silver coins per month as living expenses, with only a few copper coins saved and unable to afford the rest of their expenses. When he entered, there were several scattered people in the weapon pavilion. Xianyu roughly glanced and found that the mainstream weapons were knives, swords, guns, and sticks, accounting for the vast majority of types and quantities. So much so that Xianyu walked all the way to the deepest part of the weapon pavilion, only to find a few semi-new and timeless large bows with occasional dust on them. After careful consideration, Xianyu chose a lighter and easier to pull bow and arrow. He is not known for his physical cultivation, so a tight bow string is not suitable for him. The power of a bow and arrow depends on many levels. Firstly, the quality, material, elasticity, strength, and toughness of the bow itself. Secondly, the archer's arm strength determines the speed and range of an arrow. Thirdly, the archer's eyesight and arm strength, no matter how strong, are useless if they fail to hit the target. On the contrary, those with weak arm strength shoot an arrow that, although not fast, hits the vital point directly, with one arrow's power surpassing the former's power of several arrows. Su Yu's arm strength is not good, but his eyesight is superior. The power of bows and arrows in his hands may not be weaker than that of muscular men. Shwa, shwa, suddenly, Su Yu's ears twitched and a faint sound of breaking through the air sounded. Looking back, a graceful and beautiful woman in white stood in the open weapons square, practicing archery. This place is specifically designed for selecting archers and testing the power of archery. Behind the woman in white, a burly-looking man was holding an arrow pouch in his hand and guiding her to shoot arrows with a smile on his face. Hee, Miss Xia has extraordinary talent in archery, and I can't even teach it anymore, teacher. The rough and crazy man, who was originally the teacher of archery, clearly had a hint of flattery in his words. This person, Su Yu, has some impressions. Wuzong Academy has specialized courses on weapon use, and he has seen from afar that this teacher teaches students how to practice archery. However, at that time, he had an unusually hot temper, often scolding foolish students, far less polite than he is now. Moreover, this teacher's surname is Jiang, and they are fellow brothers with Jiang Deacon. Remembering the scene on that day when Jiang, the deacon, disregarded his weak and painful body in order to invite merit in front of Duke Qin, grabbed him, Su Yu felt displeased. No longer looking at them, Su Yu immediately recalled the 100 steps through the Yang Arrow secret scroll in his mind. Rather than saying it's a technique, it's more like an archery experience. So, it's easy to understand. An hour later, Su Yu had already gone through the turbulent flow of time, flipping through it for 10 hours, and his experience was memorized proficiently. Looking for a few ordinary iron arrows, Su Yu was eager to try and arrived at the archery field. Take a light breath and calm down. Su Yu squatted slightly on his lower body, like a solid rock, to prevent recoil during archery and improve accuracy. With one hand pulling the bow and the other using an iron arrow, the whole body focused on its arms, holding its breath and staring at the target 100 meters away with its pupils. The essence of the 100 steps through the Yang Arrow secret scroll is that when shooting arrows, heaven and man are united, the mind is highly concentrated, and the whole body's spirit is concentrated on the iron arrow. This process requires multiple coordination of qi and blood in the body to achieve a stable and consistent state, so that the mind can concentrate and shoot an arrow of selflessness. Shwa, Su Yu let go of his finger, and with a swoosh, the iron arrow pierced through the air, transforming into a shadow and hitting a target 100 meters away. But as a result, Su Yu was not satisfied. Only shot at the edge of the target, there is still a gap from the center of the target. This movement caught the attention of the woman in white, who was focused on archery, and teacher Jiang, who was guiding from beside. Teacher Jiang raised his thick black eyebrows and said, "Where's the unruly kid? I'm here to practice archery." "What do you mean?" Su Yu was somewhat speechless. Obviously, this woman in white has a decent status. To please her, teacher Jiang does not allow anyone to disturb their archery practice. However, what Su Yu shot was a nearby arrow target, which did not affect the woman in white at all. What does that mean? Practicing arrows. If there are regulations, students are not allowed to practice arrows here, and Su can leave. Su Yu remained calm and composed, calmly pulling up another arrow. Teacher Jiang put down his arrow pouch and walked quickly towards Su Yu, with a hint of anger on his face. "Teacher Jiang, there's no need to do this, let's continue." The woman in white said softly, her voice soft and light, very pleasant to listen to. As he spoke, his bright eyes glanced at Su Yu's posture and felt a little strange. "Your first time shooting an arrow?" Su Yu was engrossed in practicing arrows, without any intention of paying attention. He didn't lift his head and nodded lightly, well, this is the first time. The woman in white nodded with a smile and said, I was able to hit a target 100 meters away for the first time, it's still acceptable. Teacher Jiang glanced up and down at Xianyu, shook his head and smiled, it's difficult to grasp the posture. Maybe you've seen some superficial information, so let's practice. That arrow can hit, and luck is the main factor. The woman in white does not comment on this. Xianyu felt as if he had not heard of it. The knowledge points of the 100 steps through the Yang Arrow secret scroll are all memorized in his mind. He only needs to integrate them and practice continuously. The second arrow, still shooting at the edge of the target, is slightly closer to the center of the target than before. Ha! The woman in white felt slightly surprised. Is it really luck to shoot 2 consecutive arrows 100 meters away with the opponent's unfamiliar posture? The third arrow, keep moving closer. The fourth arrow, getting closer. The fifth arrow, get closer. The woman in white showed surprise on her face. 1 or 2 times is luck, how could 5 times be luck? Moreover, the other person's posture became more and more proficient, gradually taking on a certain appearance. Teacher Jiang raised his thick black eyebrows and stared at Xianyu as he continued. Xianyu was intoxicated by it. Starting from the 5th arrow, Xianyu found it difficult to approach the target and always shot beyond the red target. Although he became increasingly skilled, for some reason, he could no longer improve and was always at a distance from the target. On the contrary, there were 2 instances of mental instability, failure to grasp accuracy, and mistakenly hitting the red target. The woman in white sighed secretly, thinking she had encountered a genius in archery. Teacher Jiang smiled in surprise, with a hint of disdain. It seems that he is another disciple. He knows that Miss Xia likes archery and often comes here to practice archery. Therefore, he practiced half a bucket of water and pretended to be a newcomer to attract Miss Xia's attention. There are not 1 or 2 such people. The woman in white, with bright eyes like water, glanced lightly at Xianyu, a hint of helplessness and faint disgust flickered. I'm back, I'm not in a good mood, said the woman in white, her mood fading as she took a light step. As Xianyu passed by, she accidentally caught a glimpse of the bow and arrow in his hand. She stopped in shock and looked surprised. Show me your bow, said the woman in white with a strange expression on her face. Teacher Jiang cast his gaze, but also showed a strange expression. Xianyu turned his head and glanced casually, but unexpectedly discovered that standing beside him was an extremely beautiful woman. Clean and untainted, with a tranquil and ethereal temperament, like a fairy from the divine palace, walking in the mortal world with noble and elegant steps, any filth and dirtiness dissolves completely in front of her. Fairy in the painting, this is the only evaluation that Xianyu can think of, not a woman belonging to the human world. It seems that she is 14 or 15 years old, similar in age to Xianyu. A pair of snow eyes with a clear glow, clear and moving, like the snow lotus of the Tian Shan mountains, blooming in the cold and solemn wind, that purity that does not belong to the human world. Facing these pure and beautiful eyes, devoid of any impurities, Xianyu felt a sense of respect in his heart. Like a clear lotus, it can be viewed from afar and not played with profanity. Xianyu did not conceal his momentary loss of consciousness. In his deep eyes, he was clear and straightforward, and with a natural smile, he apologized, I'm sorry, it was impolite. This is my bow. The fairy in the painting had a calm expression, indifferent, and pursed her lips with an indifferent smile. I encountered too many similar scenes, so I didn't pay much attention. It was Xianyu's magnanimity that left a good impression on her. From the brief surprise in the other person's eyes, she could see that Xianyu was probably seeing her for the first time, rather than being a disciple who had already planned to attract her attention. Taking the bow, in the painting, Xian Shui's gaze was fixed, and her jade hand, frozen like jade, gently stroked the bow. Soon, her eyes were filled with wonder. Teacher Jiang leaned over to take a closer look, his face also full of astonishment, and said, I don't know. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Sitting and Harvesting Benefits. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. Sitting and Harvesting Benefits. Young Master, when you took the bow just now, no one told you, is this an abandoned and inferior bow? The immortal in the painting couldn't help but wonder. The half-old bows on the table are actually defective products, with serious problems in material quality, bowstring, accuracy, and so on. They have been discarded and prepared for disposal. But just now, this young man was holding this bow and hit a target 100 meters away 5 times in a row. It was really strange. With a hint of doubt, the fairy in the painting personally shot an arrow with this bow. As a result, she was very skilled in archery, and even missed the target. A row of black lines sprouted from Xianyu's forehead. Which bastard put the defective product there? Try using my bow. The woman in white took off a large fire-red bow hanging from her fragrant shoulder. The material of the bow body is good, it is fiery red, and when viewed from afar, it looks like a raging flame, and also like red jade. Holding it in the palm, a faint heat is transmitted between the palms, including the bow itself and the lingering warmth of the jade hand depicted in the painting. A good bow. Although he didn't know how to appreciate bows, his intuition told him that this bow was very good. With anticipation, he tried to pull the bow, only to find that it did not require much arm strength, especially suitable for use by weak bodies like Xianyu or women. Returning chi and concentrating, the whole body is fully focused, and the crystal pupils operate to clearly see the red heart from 100 meters away. Whoosh, the loud and clear sound of breaking through the sky, with a sharp tone, pierced through the arrow training field. Dong, an iron arrow, hit the bullseye. And it's the most central, only the size of the eyeball's bullseye. 100 steps through the willows, that's all. The fairy in the painting showed such a surprised expression and immediately said, "It's really surprising that you went from knowing nothing to becoming a skilled archer in just half an hour. It's really amazing." Teacher Jiang was also shocked, but he always felt that Xianyu was just a disciple, perhaps already a skilled archer, and now pretending to be a newcomer to win Miss Xia's favor. However, he cannot deny that at the age of 14 or 15, he had 100-step archery skills and could be considered a genius in archery. Xianyu breathed a sigh of relief in his heart, and with 100 steps, he succeeded. "Thank you very much, fairy." Xu said goodbye. Xianyu wanted to intensify his cultivation, but when he had no time, he returned the bow and arrow with ease. "Su Gongzi, if this bow is used smoothly, just take it. In the weapon pavilion, the new bow is still being refined and there is no bow to choose from." The immortal in the painting was generous and smiled calmly with a pursed mouth. Xianyu was taken aback. They had never met before, but the immortals in the painting presented them with a precious bow. This bow is clearly not a collection of weapons from the weapon pavilion, but rather a personal item of the immortal in the painting. After a moment of contemplation, Xianyu took it with both hands and sincerely thanked him, saying, "I borrowed the fairy's bow today, and I will definitely return it in the future. May I ask where the fairy lives, and I will definitely return the bow at that time." "No need, this bow is for you." The immortal in the painting smiled calmly and left, leaving only a faint fragrance in the air. Teacher Jiang couldn't help but sneer, "Kid, take it as soon as it's good." Among many apprentices, Miss Xia is still giving her a personal gift for the first time. You're not satisfied, and you even try to visit her house. Don't worry, she's not something that lower-level students like you can climb. Xianyu smiled calmly, too lazy to explain the misunderstanding of others. Whether it's Director Jiang or Teacher Jiang, he hates these brothers very much. Xianyu carried a big bow and entered the back mountain where he often practiced. But instead of stopping, they headed deeper into the mountains. Wuzong Academy is built on the outskirts of the Dusk Mountains, and can enter the mountains through the back mountain. In the mountains, there are many wild animals. Even, there may be monsters. The so-called monster is a beast that devours natural resources and treasures in the deep mountains, and becomes a spiritually intelligent and powerful beast through the refinement of medicine. They not only have higher intelligence, but also powerful innate instincts, which are very dangerous. Xianyu entered the Twilight Mountains for two purposes. Firstly, enhance strength through practical combat. Secondly, hunt wild and demonic beasts to earn silver, purchase the Roamling treasure pill that can burn muscles and bones, and enhance chi and blood. The first 3 days of the 5 paths belong to the body refining period, which requires strengthening the body's flesh and blood to a certain extent. Roamling Bao pill is a very common body refining pill, made from various rare materials and very precious. The lower grade Roamling treasure pill requires 100 taels of silver. The school only distributes 1 or 2 silver coins per month, excluding living expenses, only a few copper coins remain. Children from poor families like Xianyu have no ability to access the Roamling treasure pill. On the other hand, those family disciples have the support of a family consortium behind them, and 10,000 taels of silver is not a problem. And the golden students can earn 100 taels of silver per person per month. They can sit comfortably at home, just open their mouths and get the Roamling treasure pill, easily tormenting their bodies, but I have to enter the deep mountains and forests, competing with wild beasts and monsters. Xianyu recalled his past life, which was an era of fighting for his father, and this world was no exception. I don't believe it, I've worked 10 times harder than you, but I can't catch up with you yet. Xianyu felt an unyielding anger in his heart. Half a day later, Xianyu stepped into the Twilight Mountains. Shoo! A faint sound fell into my ears. Xianyu immediately stood guard, using his crystal pupils to scan around. Suddenly, a foot away, amidst the shadows of fallen leaves, a snake of a color similar to the fallen leaves quietly swam towards Xianyu. The triangular snake head, crimson snake venom, and brown-yellow eyes are the world-renowned 7-step venomous snakes. Drink. Xianyu's figure was like the wind, and his legs were like whips. Shwa, the 7-step venomous snake was kicked away like a rope and crashed into a tree trunk, fainting. Xianyu rushed over, took out the prepared small knife, carefully took out the snake gallbladder, soaked it in a wine bag, and then skillfully removed the snake skin and venomous teeth, carefully wrapped them, and finally collected the snake meat. Snake bile, snake skin, and venomous teeth can all be sold for money, worth about 10 copper coins, while snake meat can be used as reserve food. 100 copper coins can be exchanged for 1 or 2 silver coins, but as soon as I entered the mountain, I picked up 10 copper coins and was lucky. For the next 5 days, Xianyu flew among the big trees. Flying through the air, like white clouds casting shadows, agile and natural, like floating duckweed, taking a stunning glance. A pair of crystal pupils operate to the extreme, searching for all the beasts along the way that can sell money. As night fell, Xianyu hid in a cave by a small lake, with torches rising outside to guard against wild beasts from entering. 2 7-step venomous snakes, 5 wild rabbits, 2 wild chickens, 3 ground hens, 2 pangolins, 1 wild wolf, 2 little wild boars, and 1 big golden eagle. Xianyu counted the 5-day harvest and roughly estimated that it could sell 1,200 copper coins, about 12 taels of silver. Sure enough, I still have rich experience and earned the subsidy given by the school in just 5 days. Xianyu was very satisfied with the 5-day harvest. But what I am most satisfied with is still my own changes. Exercising and honing is the shortcut to success, and this statement is indeed true. For 5 consecutive days of tireless pursuit, his realm unconsciously broke through to the 2nd level of martial arts, and he was not far from the peak. At the same time, the cultivation of Bai Luo Huang Quan has reached the 3rd level of Xiaocheng, and now it has accumulated from 4 stacked attacks with both fists and legs to 8. After reaching the completion of the 3rd level of cultivation, it can stack up to 16 times. When the cultivation reaches the completion of the 3rd level, it can stack up infinitely. Fist and leg attacks continue continuously until the enemy cannot hold on. The progress of Cloud Shadow and Ping Trace is also significant. It has been completed from a young age and has completely reached the level of great success. Its body method speed is comparable to the peak of the double heaven. Of course, with 100 steps to pierce the yang arrow, the furnace is pure and refined. Within 100 steps, everything is shot, and the exquisite swordsmanship is comparable to that of a skilled archer. This is thanks to Su Yu's eyes, and another is the exceptional quality of the fiery red bow, which is very convenient to use. The immortal in the painting has shown me kindness, and on the day of returning the bow, I will repay it. Su Yu held the warm and fiery red bow, feeling grateful for his kindness in his heart. While a loud and vibrating sound from the forest came clearly. It seems like something huge is shaking the mountains and forests. At the same time, faint human voices mixed in. Su Yu's face slightly changed. Is it possible that someone is fighting against a powerful beast in this scene? A glimmer of essence flashed in Su Yu's eyes, extinguishing the flames and leaving in the darkness. With the help of his pupils, darkness is no different from day to him. The clouds and shadows spread out, and he leaped lightly in the forest, as if white clouds were falling shadows, or as if floating duckweed, mysterious and extraordinary. 3 minutes later, Su Yu flew up to a big tree and hid in the dense forest that was hidden behind it. Staring intently, my face turned cold. Below, a fiery red python, so thick that Su Yu gasped for breath. It's as thick as a bucket. Even stronger than Su Yu's body, with a huge head that could probably swallow him in one gulp. What shocked Su Yu the most was the fiery red python, which was burning with flames on its body. Wherever it passed, all the trees were burned. It's a monster. Su Yu's pupils shrank. How can an ordinary python burn flames all over its body? Only monsters can do this. This monster, although only a first-level monster, has extremely terrifying strength. Judging from its appearance, it has already reached a semi-mature state, comparable to the triple heaven realm of humans, far beyond Su Yu's ability to deal with. Fortunately, there are 3 people below, fighting against the fiery red python. Among the 3, the girl in purple has a triple level of heavenly perfection, while the petite girl in a goose yellow dress and the boy in blue both have a double level of heavenly pinnacle. They teamed up to trap the fiery red python. Hurry up. Catch this fire dragon snake, we'll have money. It's enough to sell 1,200 taels. The petite girl in a goose yellow dress threw a flying needle in the distance, scared and excited, shouting loudly on her lips. 1,200 taels. Su Yu's heart was pounding with excitement. That's 10 times what he got in 5 days. However, what left Su Yu speechless was that their situation was very difficult. The girl in purple and the young guard were pale and exhausted, while the fiery red python, also known as the little dragon snake in his mouth, remained strong. This ebbs and flows, and they may even lose their lives. After all, the fire dragon snake has the realm of triple heavenly achievements, while the purple-clothed girl only has triple heavenly achievements. The youth and the petite girl in the goose yellow skirt are only at the pinnacle of the double heavenly achievements. Shua, the fire dragon snake, with some intelligence, seemed to see that the 2 were physically weak. Its crimson eyes flashed with cunning, and after evading a joint attack from the 3, its huge tail suddenly rose like a whip, twitching left and right. The overwhelming force made Su Yu feel suffocated. The girl in purple and the young man were exhausted and unable to dodge. They immediately opened their mouths and sprayed out a mouthful of blood, flying backwards and crashing into the bushes, unconscious. The fire dragon snake was very cunning and did not take the opportunity to swallow the unconscious 2. Instead, it opened its big mouth and pounced on the petite girl who was still standing, to prevent her from escaping. The petite girl's expression stiffened with excitement, and she immediately turned and ran away in fear, shouting loudly, "Ah! Little Purple, help me, it bites me." However, both the girl in purple and the young guard have fainted. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Saving people and causing trouble. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. Saving people and causing trouble. The fire dragon snake rushed straight towards the petite girl. In the crisis of a petite girl, in a moment of panic and resistance, she instinctively threw a silver white ball out of her sleeve. Bang 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 bang. A sound like thunder exploding suddenly exploded. The eardrums of Xianyu on the tree hummed incessantly, and his body's chi and blood trembled violently, almost being shaken down by the sound. Immediately afterwards, a strong energy burst forth, causing the earth to tremble fiercely in all directions. Hissed the fire dragon snake, enveloped by a silver white ball explosion, immediately emitted a mournful hiss. I saw that half of its head was blown away, and it was bloody and blurry. 7 inches away, large snake scales peeled off, revealing a blurry area of flesh and blood. The intense pain stimulated the fiery dragon snake, causing it to unleash its ferocity. It twisted its body wildly and charged fiercely towards the petite young girl, with its mouth full of blood, ready to swallow the tender little lamb. Xianyu shook his head secretly. The silver-white round ball of that petite girl had a terrifying power. Absolutely an extremely expensive life-saving treasure. Under normal circumstances, even the strongest individuals at the triple peak of martial arts may be killed by the explosion. But the petite girl was too panicked. The 7-inch position was the heart of the snake. If it had exploded there just now, it would have died. Seeing the situation was critical, Xianyu took out his red big bow, and his pupils moved to the extreme. He aimed at the 7-inch position of the fire dragon snake, where there was a wound with scales peeling off. Facing it, Xianyu suddenly shot towards it. Hiss, the bow and arrow hit the target straight. However, it did not penetrate. Its flesh and blood were too thick, and it only shot into 7 inches of flesh, a little further away from the heart. The fire dragon snake let out a mournful roar, and in pain, it angrily raised its head and looked at the human hiding at the top of the tree, shooting cold arrows. What are you looking at? Evil beast. Xianyu felt a slight chill in his heart when he was seen. He was a demon beast that had achieved great success in the 3 heavens, and he had no resistance at all. Without saying a word, Xianyu fired another arrow, which was extremely precise and hit the end of the feather arrow inserted at its 7-inch position. 2 arrows in a row. Suddenly, the feather arrow went 3 inches deeper into the flesh and penetrated deeply into the heart. Ow! The fire dragon snake emitted a mournful roar resembling a dragon's roar, opening its mouth and spraying out a large mouthful of black venom, mixed with tiny teeth. Xianyu's face changed and he hurriedly turned to the back of the tree trunk. Dong dong dong, he clearly felt something forcefully piercing into the trunk behind him. As he looked back, the fire dragon snake writhed in pain on the ground, gradually dying, until after a cup of tea, the fire dragon snake remained motionless before jumping down lightly. That petite girl seemed to be shaken by the shockwave and fainted in the presence. Xianyu let go of his worries and without hesitation, immediately took off the most valuable snake bile, fangs, and skin of the fire dragon snake. After finishing these, Xianyu looked in surprise at the blunt dagger in his hand. The skin of the dragon snake was much harder than he had imagined. He couldn't help but be grateful that the delicate young girl used a silver ball to blast open the flesh and blood 7 inches away. Otherwise, with his bow and arrow, it would be impossible to shoot through the thick snake skin. Xianyu stood up and prepared to leave. Suddenly, a faint moan of pain came from behind. Looking back, it was the petite young girl with an extremely pale complexion, beads of sweat floating on her forehead, rapid breathing, and a rapid rise and fall in her chest. Not good. She's poisoned. Xianyu checked up and just discovered that a tooth containing black venom had penetrated her clothes and shot into her chest. Just now, the fire dragon snake, on the brink of death, launched a counterattack and shot out a large mouthful of venom wrapped in broken teeth. The petite girl was injured by the aftershocks and poisoned. Without hesitation at the moment, Xianyu untied the girl's clothes and looked closely. On the right side of her chest, a tiny tooth penetrated through the clothes, penetrated the skin, and penetrated into the flesh, mixed with black blood stains staining her chest. The skin near the wound appears dark brown, which is a sign of snake venom spreading. Once the toxin enters the heart, the great Luo immortal is helpless. In times of crisis, rescuing someone is crucial. Suyu's hands were like lightning, and his index and middle fingers carefully removed the broken teeth that had penetrated into his flesh. Fortunately, the incision at the site of poisoning is relatively open, so there is no need to cut open the skin, otherwise permanent scars will be left in this area. Xianyu quickly analyzed, nodded secretly, and then squatted down to wipe off the residual blood on top. Then, he opened his mouth, held the wound, and forcefully sucked in the residual toxic blood. In a coma, the rescued girl seemed to feel pain and her delicate body trembled slightly. Xuyu's heart was clear and clear, with no distractions. He sucked hard and took out a mouthful of poisonous blood, then quickly spat it out before it entered his oral blood vessels. Then, lower your head and start sucking again. 1 bite, 2 bites, 3 bites, until the 6th bite, when the blood sucked out turned bright red, Xianyu stopped. At this moment, his mouth was slightly numb, and very little toxin entered the oral blood vessels. However, all of this was worth it. The little beauty's breathing stabilized, but she fell into a coma and there was no danger to her life. Squatting down and covering the little beauty with clothes, Xianyu immediately dodged and left. He doesn't think that if he saves a woman in this way, he will receive her gratitude, and most likely, he will be misunderstood, and his life may be in danger. After all, that woman in purple, but the existence of Sanchong Tian Xiaocheng. In addition, this place was deserted and uninhabited. With a command from the little beauty, the woman in purple easily silenced her. What are you doing? As Xianyu was about to leave, the young guard stood up unsteadily and suddenly noticed a strange man sneaking around. At the same time, all the dragon snakes they surrounded and killed had their valuable parts peeled off. The young guard suddenly became furious and said, "Where are the thieves, stealing our spoils of war?" As he fell into a coma and fainted, he heard the sound of thunder. He knew that the little princess had used her assassin's mace to kill the fire dragon snake. Unexpectedly, when I woke up, I found that the little princess was unconscious and valuable materials from the fire dragon snake had been stolen. Xianyu did not turn back, but cleverly tore off a piece of fabric, covered it on his face, and without saying a word, dodged and left. Unexpectedly, a faint toxin burst out, and his body was not as agile as before, making the performance of Cloud Shadow and Duckweed extremely difficult. Where to go? Seizing this opportunity, the youth at the peak of Akong Tian caught up. Xianyu turned around and said coldly, "Humph. I saved you all. Why don't you quickly check on your fellow countrymen?" The young guard was furious and said, "Bold thief, hurt your master, take away our prey. Not to mention it, you are full of lies. With your martial arts skills and great achievements, how could you possibly kill the fire dragon snake? You are clearly hurt people and seize treasures. Look at the move. Tiger fist." The young guard leaped and was in the air, like a fierce tiger descending from the mountain, with a majestic pounce. The power is so strong that it is truly a moderate skill. Compared to Suyu's blue falling yellow spring, it is a whole level higher. Xianyu was angry and said, "I don't know a good heart." Suyu's body was agile, with his fists and feet striking back with a perfect fit. With one fist and one foot, the illusion and shadow intertwined, striking the opponent's chest in a vertical and horizontal manner. Being hit with one punch and one foot at the same time, the young guard let out a painful cry, and the momentum of the fierce tiger descending the mountain instantly disintegrated. But without waiting for him to react, he punched again in the same position. The young guard was filled with shock and anger, with his hands on his chest. As long as the opponent's attack stopped, he could immediately counterattack. However, the opponent's fists and feet were intertwined, constantly moving, punching and kicking, repeatedly landing in the same position. Until the final blow, one foot swept through the afterimage in the air and slammed into his arms. Ah! The young man could no longer hold on, his arms were in severe pain, his body flew backwards and fell 5 meters away, his eyes filled with fear. The opponent just achieved great success, and surprisingly defeated him. That strange fist and foot technique is clearly inferior, but it has the power to suppress him. Xianyu's ability to defeat him was largely due to a youth battle, which consumed a huge amount of energy. In addition, he had just awakened and his strength could not be fully utilized. Kicking him away with one kick, Xianyu immediately performed cloud shadow and ping trace, like white clouds casting shadows, floating duckweed in the river and sea, disappearing into the forest with a startled glance. Xianyu had to leave because the most powerful girl in purple had awakened. Li Minghai, what happened? The girl in purple covered her heavy head and stood up unsteadily. She only had time to see a man's figure flying away Li Minghai and hurriedly fled. Li Minghai's expression was unpleasant, and he added fuel to the fire by saying something. The girl in purple had a terrifying expression, but she didn't care about the fire dragon or snake, but about the little princess. Pushing forward, the girl in purple checked and confirmed that everything was okay, and then breathed a sigh of relief. But being careful, she noticed that the little princess's clothes were a bit disheveled, and the blood stains on her chest were eye-catching. Finally, there are a few mouthfuls of dark red blood on the side of the little princess, as well as a venomous snake's tooth. The girl in purple seemed to think of something, her face turned white, and she said in a deep voice, "Li Minghai, you should temporarily retreat." As he left, the girl in purple untied the little princess's clothes and saw the venomous tooth wound, the remaining dark skin, which was a sign of poisoning. Fortunately, the poisonous blood has been removed and there is no major problem. But then, staring at the traces of human detoxification, her mind was filled with a thunderous thought. She instantly understood what had happened to the little princess just now. With anger in her heart, the girl in purple turned her head and shouted coldly, "Qin Lao, why don't you stop me? How can a man touch the precious body of the little princess? How can a clear reputation exist? If the county king knew, he would surely be furious." Shua, upon hearing the sound of clothing, a withered old man appeared out of thin air with a dull expression. From beginning to end, this withered old man remained on a nearby tree, while Xianyu was completely unaware. This person's strength is unimaginable. He is the expert who secretly protects the little princess. Even if the Prince of Xianyu sharpens his daughter, he will not let her take any risks with any strength. Qin Lao is an expert in secretly protecting her, and only takes action when the little princess is in a crisis of life and death. End of this chapter. 10, Chapter 10 Prince of Xianyu County. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10 Prince of Xianyu County. Upon hearing this, Qin Lao's face froze and he chuckled lightly, because he was saving the little princess, not harming her. According to the agreement, I only protect her safety and naturally won't interfere. Moreover, if I were to come personally, I would only be able to suck up the snake venom through such indecent means. Could it be that Miss hopes that this old man will touch the daughter's body with this old bone? Qin chuckled lightly as usual. The girl in purple was helpless and gritted her teeth, saying, "So, can you take note of that person's appearance?" Qin shook his head slightly and said, "No, that kid is agile in action. I don't have a good angle, only seeing his back and masked figure." The girl in purple was extremely angry and worried in her eyes. This is over, the princess must be furious with thunder. Returning to the outside world and arriving at the city of Xianyu County, a glimmer of light flashed in his eyes. Xianyu, wearing a veil, arrived at a dark alley. When he was at the Wuzong Academy, he heard that there were black merchants here who specifically collected unknown materials. The material of the fire dragon snake is extremely valuable and can definitely sell for a good price. However, he understood very well that if he openly sold these materials, he would definitely catch fire. Just because that girl in purple is a martial arts triple heaven, he cannot expose himself. Old man, do you want the materials? Xianyu saw an old man holding a toad pipe deep in the alley, and his heart moved as he approached. The old man rolled his eyes and said in confusion, "You found the wrong person. Black goods, deal with it cheap." Xianyu smiled lightly at the corner of his mouth, understanding that the other party was being cautious, so he spoke frankly and took out a venomous tooth from a fire dragon snake. The old man's eyes were shining brightly, and he exclaimed in a low voice, "Monster materials." He was a bit incredulous. The young man in front of him was only Erkongshan, how could he possibly kill the Sanchongshan monster? But thinking about the black goods, he knew in his heart that the goods were not coming from the right direction. "Follow me." The old man with a pipe opened an inconspicuous small door and led Xianyu into a secret courtyard. This person has been acquiring black goods for a long time, and Xianyu is not afraid of the other party's ulterior motives. Is it really a fire dragon snake? The pipe-smoking old man looked at the huge snake skin that was 20 meters long, with an excited look in his eyes. "Snake gall, I'll give you 50 taels of silver, poison fang will give you 100 taels of silver, and this snake skin will give you 500 taels of silver, a total of 650 taels. The old man of the pipe calculated for a while and quoted a price. Xianyu sneered and said, "Grandpa, you have a black heart and a black lung. Aren't you afraid of a bolt from the blue? You only gave 650 taels of 1,200 taels of materials. If that's really the case, then I'll find a lower house. Those who dare to accept black goods are not your family in Xianyu County." The old pipe smoker chatted up, but it turned out to be a knowledgeable little guy. 900 taels. Love to sell or not? The old man gave a market price. After some consideration, Xianyu realized that it was not cost-effective as it depreciated by a full quarter compared to 1,200 taels. But the black market is at this price. "Okay, but you need to give me some snake skin. I need to refine a protective inner armor." Xianyu's eyes flickered with shrewdness, bargaining. The old pipe smoker shook his head like a tambourine and said, "No, no, no. I'm too bad, old man." Xianyu smiled and said, "How about I buy a few roamling treasure pills from you? So you won't lose out. The roamling treasure pill in the hands of black merchants is even 10% cheaper than on the market. A lower-grade roamling treasure pill costs 100 silver taels on the market, but only 90 silver taels are needed here, both of which are invisible goods. Among the silver students, there are often people who come here to buy cheap roamling treasure pills." The old man with a pipe, his eyes shining brightly, said, "How many do you want?" 3 lower-grade pills, 1 middle-grade pill." Xianyu said, "The middle-grade roamling treasure pill costs 500 taels of silver from the outside world. However, he only needs 450 taels of silver, and all 4 of them add up to exactly 900 taels of silver." "Haha. Alright, deal." The old man with a pipe happily took out 2 jade bottles, each containing inferior and medium-grade treasure pills. Confirmed to be correct, Xianyu immediately took a piece of snake skin and left. Before leaving, the old man with a pipe flickered in his eyes and handed Xianyu a token. "Hee, kid, I like your kind and talkative friend. Take this item and go to the largest Donglin craftsman's shop in the market to find Master Zhangzhe. He will refine a perfect inner armor for you. It's an extra reward for the old man." If you have any top-quality goods next time, remember to deliver them to me, said the old man with a smile as he closed the door. Su Yu's gaze flickered as he walked to the end of the street and discarded the token. Then, pull off the veil and disappear. 2 hours later, the pipe master happily counted the fire dragon snakes. However, at this moment, Quang Quang, the door was suddenly kicked open, and 20 murderous black-armored soldiers rushed in, each reaching the terrifying realm of the 5 heavens. 20 people stood respectfully on either side of the door, as if welcoming a big shot. The chest of the black-armored soldier is carved with a totem of an eagle. This totem, which only members of the royal family can possess, is a symbol of the royal family. In Xianyu County, only one person is eligible to bestow a totem on a soldier's armor. The Xianyu County King. The greatest controller of Xianyu County. Amidst the solemn welcome of numerous black-armored soldiers, a handsome yet majestic man entered with a gloomy expression on his back, and at a glance, he saw the fiery red snake skin on the ground. Is it this thing? The middle-aged man turned his head to look at the girl in purple behind him. Beside the girl in purple, there was a little beauty in a goose-yellow dress, with teary eyes and swollen eyes. She kept choking, as if she had suffered great injustice. Upon hearing this, the little beauty looked up first, fixed her eyes, and immediately burst into flames. She blushed and said, "That's it. That damn thing, you really took it to the black market to sell. Who is selling it? Where is the person?" The middle-aged man remained calm and intimidated, with a terrifying aura that oppressed the old pipe smoker with a pale complexion. His knees softened, and his eyes were filled with fear and terror. He kept kneeling and kowtowing, "Lord Jun, spare your life. I don't know if the origin of this thing is related to the Lord Jun's mansion. Damn it, damn it." The middle-aged man stood with his hands down, his face calm, but his eyes burning with anger. "Answer me. Who sold it to you? Where is the person?" The old man with a pipe quickly said, "Report to the prince, he is a young man, masked, and has never seen clearly." Suddenly, the trembling old man remembered something, such as finding a life-saving straw and quickly saying, "By the way, I gave him a token. Maybe he went to the Donglin store to make leather armor." The pipe master came up with a quick idea and secretly thought that he had an extra hand, giving Su Yu a token. "Immediately seal down the Donglin store. Take this person away and continue questioning." The Prince of Xianyu's eyes burned with a raging anger. My own daughter, in a coma, was so frivolous. As a father, how could he not be angry? Although I understand that the other party is trying to save my daughter with good intentions, for my daughter, it is about chastity and I must capture the person involved and give her an explanation. Black iron soldiers marched to the Donglin store in a grand manner, sealing everything down. "Princess, no one has ever been here," the subordinate replied. Not long after, another subordinate held a token and said, "Princess, the token was found in the corner of the alley. The other party is very likely to discard it out of caution." The Prince of Xianyu's face was extremely ugly, and he angrily patted the table, saying, "You cunning kid. First, take the goods to the black market to sell, even so, don't forget to mask them." Later, he cunningly threw away the token to prevent appearing in the Donglin store and being found by him. This person is very cunning and hides himself very deeply, making it impossible to trace. Now, the only thing I know is 2 things. Firstly, the opponent's martial arts are good. Secondly, judging from the dead dragon snake corpse, the opponent's archery skills are superb and they possess the precise ability to shoot consecutive arrows. Immediately investigate the young genius with superb archery skills in the entire city. The Prince of Xianyu stared angrily, not giving up until he achieved his goal. The little beauty, also known as the Fairy Feather Princess, had swollen and red eyes and viciously bit her silver teeth, saying, "I want to catch that pervert. Thief, I want to bite him in one bite. How dare you treat me like that? Sob. I won't live anymore. In the tea house not far from the Donglin store, Xianyu had already changed into a clean plain robe, which was completely different from the attire of the Sunset Mountain Range. Even if Li Minghai stood in front of him, his identity could not be determined. He leaned against the railing, sipping tea quietly while secretly waiting. He just wanted to see what the identity of those two women and one man was, and whether they would easily track down the old pipe smoker and the Donglin store. In this way, he could secretly confirm whether he had provoked some terrible force, so as not to have any worries. But what he saw made him gasp for breath. Immortal. Feather. County. King. Xianyu's scalp tingled, and a cold sweat covered his forehead. That two women and one man, surprisingly, are related to the Prince of Xianyu County. Startled by the arrival of the Prince of Xianyu himself, the crying little beauty, with no doubt about her identity, must be the closest relative of the Prince of Xianyu, very likely the princess. He felt suicidal thinking that he had touched the daughter of the princess. Xianyu regretted his act of saving others, whether in his past or present life. Those who save people with kindness may not have a good ending. Well, it's difficult for the other party to identify me, so it's a misunderstanding. In the future, if we delve deeper, the possibility of exposure will be minimal. Xianyu sighed and returned to the academy. However, he did not return to his dormitory, but entered the training room of the university. The training room is free, which is rare for poor students like Xianyu. However, the cultivation room is also classified into upper and lower levels. A superior cultivation room with a better environment. Inside, there is a spirit pool where cultivation can increase qi and blood, refine the body, and achieve better results. Unfortunately, there are only 10 of them, and only the rumored top 10 demons and privileged individuals can possess them. Poor people like Xianyu can only sigh with admiration. Crunching, oh, it's you. Practicing. A pleasant and tranquil voice came through. Xianyu turned his head and arched his hand with gratitude on his face. I've seen a fairy before. In his heart, Xianyu was puzzled. Could it be that the immortal in the painting was also a student in the academy? Moreover, he still came out of the superior cultivation room. Is it difficult to say that she is one of the top 10 demons? Or someone with extremely high privileges? End of this chapter.